Thank you. The meeting will come to order. Would you all please rise so we can salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, meeting of the Lower Providence Zoning Board. Can we
October
have
23rd.
October 23rd, you're right. So, want to take the roll call, please?
Absolutely. Mrs. McFarland.
Here.
Mrs. Cluley.
Here.
Mrs. Esky.
Here.
Mr. Borai.
Here.
Mr. Hart.
Here.
And Sager, our alternate.
Okay, we're all here.
And Mr. McClellan's not here. His substitute is Jack. John Rule from Keith McLennan's office, here for being a solicitor tonight.
Wait, let's put
Thank
this
you.
between you.
Okay. All right. Before we start with the meeting, would one of you like to read our zoning hearing standard statement? Joyce, it's your birthday, you can.
No,
No?
give me a second.
You want me to read it?
You'll read it?
Sure. If you,
Bob, no, go ahead.
okay.
Quit having these birthdays on these meetings.
This is the standard statement we read before all meetings of the zoning hearing board. The zoning hearing board will give all interested parties an opportunity to ask questions and testify in connection with the applications being heard tonight. After a witness for the applicant completes testimony, you will be given an opportunity to ask questions of that witness. In addition, after an applicant has completed its case, you will also be given an opportunity to testify, which will require you to be sworn in as a witness. If you wish to participate in the hearing on an application, you should complete the entry of appearance form, which will be provided to you by the zoning officer, sitting right there, at the table next to the court reporter. We ask your cooperation in maintaining silence during the hearing so that both the board and the court reporter can hear the testimony of the witnesses. We also ask that all cell phones be turned off.
Thank you, Bob. Okay. We'll go down to the first item. Who would like to read it? Z14-13.
Madam Chairperson.
Tom?
Madam Chairperson, I'd like to go on a record on Z1413. J&K Excavating is asking for a continuance until November the 24th. And in their letter to our solicitor, it states, the zoning hearing board has accepted your request for a continuance for the hearing schedule on October the 23rd, 2014, the zoning hearing board's meeting of November the 24th, 2014. This continuance is conditioned upon your client's waiver of all deadlines for a hearing and subsequent decisions in the municipal planning code code, period. Further, your client will be responsible for any additional advertising costs incurred by the zoning hearing board. And is signed by Brandon H. Zanin. That's our attorney.
Okay. You want to add that other line in the interim?
The matter has been continued until November 24th at the request of the applicant.
No, the
No.
last line.
The last line
In the
of the letter.
interim, kindly provide us with the supplement to your application for a variance.
Okay,
Did I do a good job?
that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. What are the wishes of the board?
I get an A.
I think Tom has made the motion,
Yes, sir.
and I will second it.
Okay, we have a second. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Get rid of that. Okay, item number 2 tonight is Z14-14. Who would like to read it? Joyce?
Sure. Z1414, the applicant is requesting a variance from 143-37 to permit the construction of a restored front porch into the front yard setback. The applicant is also requesting an interpretation of the proper side yard setback on this L-shaped corner lot. If it is determined that a 60-foot rear yard setback is required, the applicant will request relief from that standard. The parcel ID of the subject property is 43-00-02239-004, and the property is located at 201 Church Road, Eagleville, PA, 19403, and is in the R2 residential district.
Okay.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is George Ozarowski. I'm an attorney from Plymouth, meeting representing the applicant tonight, Randy Roberts. If I may approach.
Thank you.
How do you spell his name?
Thank you.
Could you spell your name for us?
Sure. It's Ozorowski.
Thank you.
Sure. In way of a brief summary, because this case is pretty self-explanatory. You can get, is that the same thing? There's really two issues that we're going to ask you to look at tonight. The one is, this is Church Road and this is Providence Road. What the applicant is seeking to do is really a couple different things. Number one is, this area of his property, there is a small porch there. Originally, the house, when it was built over 120-some years ago, had a porch that was the whole front porch, from one of the building to the other. He seeks to reestablish that, which was an existing front porch on the property. Why he needs zoning relief is, again, because of the age of the property, Church Road in an R2 district requires a 50-foot setback. As you can see, the setback is actually halfway through the existing house. So in order to do anything with his front porch, he was advised by the zoning officer that we should seek a variance to replace what was there. Now, the porch hasn't probably been there for 20 or 30 years, so it's nothing that we can just say this was recently torn down. But if you look at the house, you can actually see where physically the porch was attached to the front of the building. The second area of relief concerns this area here. Right now, there's a shed, there's, I believe, another little building there that you can use to grow plants and whatnot, a little greenhouse. What he's seeking to do is to basically tear kind of down all these sheds and tear up all this concrete and build a garage there. The issue with that is, one, of interpretation, number one, and number two, if necessary, relief. Because Providence Road and Church Road is a corner lot, you have, in essence, two front yards. Because of that, you have then, it depends on how you interpret this side yard here from the neighbors. Because it's such a unique shaped lot, being an L-shaped lot, the 60-foot setback is here. Well, if you consider this a rear yard over here, then the 60-foot would come halfway through the front yard, and you would have no setbacks anywhere in that portion of the property. So if you consider this a corner lot, then you would have two front yards, and this would be considered a side yard. If this is a side yard of 20 feet, you would not need any relief. Again, it's because the unique shape of the lot, you kind of end up with two different yards and how you interpret those two different yards. Again, if it's a 20-foot side setback as opposed to a 60-foot rear setback, we are building within the envelope and we don't need any zoning relief to put a garage in. So I don't know procedurally how you want to proceed with that. I'd be glad to put on the case, and at the end you can either decide if it's an interpretation issue which we don't need relief, or if you believe we do need relief. Obviously, the hardship would be that this portion of the lot will be unbuildable, because if that's a 60-foot rear setback and this is a 50-foot setback, there's no setbacks anywhere. And virtually you can do nothing with the yard as it stands. So that would be the basis of the hardship if there's a variance granted. So with that understanding, I have one witness. It will be Randolph Roberts, technically speaking. Do you want to swear him in, or does somebody want to swear him in?
State your name for the record, please.
Randolph Roberts.
Do you want to go up to the microphone? Does it work there? Is it on?
Is the mic on?
The front is really fun. Yeah, corner.
Scared of those things.
3,
Thank you, Michael. My name is Randolph Roberts.
Do you sound swear or affirm
okay, I was
testimony
looking
that
at
you give in this matter
What page is
will
that?
truth and nothing but the truth so help you God?
So help me God, yes. Yes.
Randy, you're the owner of 201 Church Street here in Low Providence, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And it's zoned R2.
Yes.
It's approximately 46,221 square feet?
Yes.
Is that correct? What's currently located on the property?
It's a single-family home. It's an older home in the township. The original section is, I believe, 1857. And the front section where the setback goes through was built in 1890. And that's where the front porch that I'd like to replace. The concrete pad is still there. Yes.
This picture.
Yeah,
Do you
that's
have that to put up?
Yeah, we do.
That picture represents the restored house that I have as it is.
For the record, can you put up our Exhibit 3 for us?
no, it's 4.
That's right before 4, I think it is.
Here.
Randy, just for the record, that's your house, is that correct?
That is correct.
And why don't you come over here and using this corner, can you point out where the porch you're talking about is?
Well, right here is where the front porch is. Now, there's a little overhang that when I bought the house 20 years ago was there, so the original porch has been missing. There are cleats that we've seen that go across the stretch of the house, which is about 33 feet across. As I say, here's a concrete pad, but I'm just seeking permission to rebuild the front porch aesthetically to, a period. I'm not looking to have it enclosed or anything. It would be 4 pillars and just a roof.
Would you do anything with the existing concrete pad? Would you replace
No,
that?
yes, I would totally replace it, yes. There's architectural drawings that have been engineered, and I would do it to the standards.
Now, I know you said you couldn't find it, but have you ever seen a picture with the roof or the porch on the front of the building?
Well, one of the neighbors has a side view, and it's just a standard porch that was built about 1890. It's just a roof with, 4 columns.
So you would basically look to replace that roof with the way it existed in the 1890s?
Exactly, yeah, nothing, nothing elaborate, just something simple and something I could put a rocking chair on.
You're not going to make the concrete pad any bigger, wider?
No, as
It's
it,
the same
I believe it's 8 feet exactly by 33 feet exactly. I would not create any more intrusion towards the street whatsoever.
Now, for the record, you have public water and public sewer, is that correct?
That is correct.
And when did you buy the property?
1994,
And you've been working on it since then, is that correct?
yeah.
Can you give the board a little bit of flavor of what you've been doing on the property over
Well,
the last few years?
I basically have tried to restore it to its original condition, and it's been quite a lengthy period of time. I take several months off a year and been stabbing at it, and I've been very fortunate, and I just retired last year, so I've been working full steam on this, and this is it. I've been in the construction business for 25 years, and I'd like to finish my home, is really what I'd like to do.
And you obviously plan, if the board approves what you want to do tonight, you plan on living in the property, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And if you get approval, when would you plan on starting the work?
Well, pretty much immediately. I'm pretty much ready to go.
And I trust you would comply with all the building codes and regulations, is that correct?
Oh, sure, yes.
Now, we handed up a packet of information exhibits to the board. We can go over these with them. Exhibit 1 is just the application for the zoning relief, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that was signed by you and we submitted that, is that right?
That is correct.
Number 2 is a deed to your property that shows that you bought the property back in August of 1994, is that right?
That is correct.
You are the only owner of the properties, is that
Yes.
right? But you will be living there with your wife?
Yes,
Number 3 is the photograph that we just referred to, and that accurately depicts the front of your house. is that
yes, it
correct?
does.
That's a 201 Church Road.
Correct.
If you could go to Exhibit 4, Mike. Now, Exhibit 4 is a site surveyor plan by Mr. Joseph Estock, is that correct?
That is correct,
And
yes,
it's dated July 17th of 2013.
correct.
Can you briefly go over, by using the pointer, what the plan shows and what's existing on your property?
Well, the long stretch, as we say, we know we have identified the 60-foot setback. There's the house in the front, which was built, I believe, 1890, and there's a side house that I believe was built in 1857, and then there's a wooden structure in this area with a shed behind that I believe was built in the 20s or the 30s. They've lived their useful purpose in life, and I in my total plans and everything, I'm going to tear that down and put an addition on, but all within the setbacks. And then down here is this is listed as a shed, but it's really a carport. It's an existing carport that I believe is 27 feet 8 inches off the property line, and this is the one that we're asking about, the setbacks. There's a shed here, and then there's a whole bunch of concrete here. I'm going to remove the shed, all the concrete. There's a little shed here that has actually a well in it. It's one of the farm pumps. I'll remove that building, but it has flagstone and stuff in there, and I'll just leave that. But from this point of the original carport towards this shed, there's a stretch of driveway in here. And so I would come in the driveway and just pull into my garage. And all this area that is concrete or shed, I would plant as grass. And
And did it look at one point like there was another building or structure there, based on what you can see?
well, this was an old barn. You know, I have the barn walls here, and I've taken most of the stuff down, and I've already started repointing the barn wall, which is along this side, Providence. It's about 4 feet up, and I'm just going to take the barn wall down all the way around up until there's a little height variation here, so I'm putting a fence along this line. But this currently has all filled in with ivy, so it's all overhanging. And the only thing I'm going to keep is the barn wall, but about 4 feet high.
Is the barn wall just to the back, or is it to
Well,
the back? and
well,
on
actually, the
side?
barn wall goes all the way across here, all the way here, keeps on going around to here. It was a very large barn.
Right.
I guess at one point, if I calculated it, I could have parked 9 cars in it. It was quite large. And this total area here, which, excuse me one second, I made some notes. There is another calculation here, but I believe I've calculated that there's 1,445 square feet of concrete that I'm going to pull out. And the garage totally will be 896 square feet. By the time I did my calculations, I'm going to give back about 1,013 square feet, and I'll just turn into grass. As I say, it's the barn lived its useful purpose. It's down to nothing, and I guess whoever had it before had a lot of concrete in there, and that's the last that I haven't removed, and I'm going to just plant grass down there.
So you'll be decreasing the impervious coverage
Right.
that's existing right now?
But my total calculation between the addition I want to put on the house and the barn and the removal of the concrete, when I add everything together, I have a 754 square feet give back. In other words, I'm going to turn concrete or impervious into pervious. I guess that's how it's.
So just on the neighbors that, the Kerns who are to your right.
Yes.
That property line is roughly 300 square,
Well, it's
240
240.
square,
Yeah,
240 feet long, is that correct?
that is correct.
And then across the front, what is the front dimensions of your property?
Well, that I can't. Well, I think it's long, I think it's probably close to 260 square feet actually across the front. Yeah.
And then it
And-
has an L-shaped lot, is that
Right,
correct?
and actually, if you do notice that my setback on my property line with Mr. Curran, the back of the house actually crosses over into that. I think it's an 18-foot setback in the front and in the back, so whatever I've done, I've started my addition 4 feet back. So I'm 2 feet over, so in other words, I'm 22 feet off the back of the property. So I'm not looking for any relief there.
And in fact, you're not looking for any relief for the addition itself, is that correct?
That's correct.
Looking at Exhibit 5, this is kind of the impervious calculations that you were just referring
Yeah,
to.
that I was just referring to, that,
So the area in the yellow would be the existing driveway, is that correct?
that is correct. And at the top, and you turn left, it says 105 square feet. That's a part of the driveway, what I would be having part of the garage in.
So in loose terms, you in essence would be in the area where you see 222 square feet, from there down to that other little building as you move frontward that says 90 square feet.
Right, and it would not go into that building, it would stop before that building, because that's where the setback actually runs across. I can't go, and,
The front yard setback.
yeah, the front yard setback into that shed, that's why I'm going to remove the roof.
Okay.
But, you know, there were so many different buildings built over a period of time. You know, I restored the house, and now I need to finish the property. I'm just,
Okay. Now looking at Exhibit 6, this is a plan that was actually planned by your architect, is that correct?
yes,
And who is that?
it's Carl Gutillo of 3GH Architects, 3GHC, I'm sorry.
Now, looking at the plan, first, just real briefly with the house itself, the part of the area in the front would be the porch area that would be restored?
Yeah, he's showing mainly concrete there, but I think he's got little projections that show kind of a roof line.
Can you point it out on the overhead for us?
Yes. It's right here,
And then the addition part would be where?
right, this shaded area, shaded in area.
Kind of going around the over 100-year portion of the property.
Well, yeah, this is the 1857 section, this is the 1890, and then this is the proposed addition.
And then where, can you point out the garage on that plan for
And
us?
this would be the garage. So you come in the driveway, and there's a little door right here, and then two-bay garage. And right here is the original carport that still exists.
Okay.
But all this would go, except the barn wall. You know, as I say, it's all 4 feet all the way across. Up back here it gets a little higher, and so now I'm above 4 feet. I've got to put a fence along that area.
So for the record, if the rear yard, if the side yard setback behind the garage at least was 20 feet, you would not need any zoning relief? Is that
No,
correct?
I'm 27 feet 8 inches right now, and I would not encroach any further on Ms. Ramguso's property.
So of course, if it was interpreted that it was a 60-foot rear yard setback at that
Well,
location,
then I don't think I could get anything in here, to be honest, because I think this is the front yard setback here, and then if you added 60, I think that would just nullify any building.
any use of the yard.
Right, yes.
And then on looking at 7, this is again an architectural plan by your architect, is that correct?
That is correct.
You have a front elevation of that, what the house would look like from church, looking at the house, is that right?
Yeah, and here it is. It's, 4 columns and just an asphalt roof.
And that would be what you propose to be constructing in the front yard, is that correct?
That is correct.
And then moving on to,
To its original pad, so I'm not, I think that was asked, I'm going to keep it to its original dimensions. I'm not adding or, I think 8 feet is short enough. I don't think there's any,
okay.
yeah.
And then moving on to Exhibit 8, this is another architectural plan that you're architected, is that correct?
Right, this is just to show, this is the side of the house that looks from Providence. This would be from church looking in where the side porch is here, or the front porch is. And this is just showing the architectural drawings that we've come up with. It would be just a 2-story with a very small basement, just a small runway. The rest of it's going to be on a 4-foot crawl space. The basement back in the 1890s and 1850s doesn't really hold height. So the basement is really non-usable even in the original structures. So I found no necessity to put a basement in other than a nice 4-foot crawl space for workers to get in and out, but a small runway to accommodate an air handler and a hot water heater. So there's a section that was in previous that we had, but there's a small, about an 8-foot length that runs the length of the basement down here, just so that we can accommodate for the plumbing.
And again, we're not looking for the addition per se, but we did want to show the porch on the front of the building, is that right?
Yeah, that's the porch.
And then looking at number 9, is again another architectural rendering of the roofing, and that's just to show the board the outline of what was original and what was going to be the addition.
Right here is the 1857 structure. These are all 18-inch walls. This is the 1890 structure.
All stone?
All stone, all been restored. And the building right now that sits there basically goes along this line here and through here. So I'm not adding on much because most of this is already built on. This would be the runway that I was talking about in the basement area.
And then finally, Exhibit 10, this would be your proposed garage that you would like to build?
Yes.
And, look that up. Can you go
Yeah.
over, how wide would the garage be?
This is 32 feet,
And how deep would the garage be?
28 feet. And that here's the barn wall that is there that since I have all the stone, I was going to put the stone back. Since it's a little lower grade, it's about 43 inches down, and that I would just continue the barn wall around the exposed portion of the garage.
Would the improvements made to your property have any adverse impact on any of your neighbors or the use of their property?
Not that I'm aware of. I was asked to contact my immediate neighbors, anybody that touched me or was immediately across the street, and I've had nothing but positive comments. As I say, I've contacted just about everybody. There's only one person I wasn't able to get a hold of, but
Were you able to get hold of Mr. and Mrs. Ramaguso?
yeah,
And they were?
yeah, Miss.
Okay.
Yes. I talked to her for over half an hour, and I've offered everybody an opportunity to see the plans, and no one's taken me up on it. So, I was more than offered to at length.
Did you have a couple of buds there?
The replacement of the front porch, is that based on the fact that your house is not conforming because of its location where it is right now?
Well, it's because it's non-conforming. I would have replaced it a long time ago, but since it's,
You were told you need a zoning.
yeah, I figured before I would approach the board with all my requests, and then I would be able to decide how far I needed to go with.
And the proposed improvements on your property, they will be consistent with the character of the neighborhood, is that correct?
I believe so. I mean, I think, you know, I think I have a larger home on the block, but I think it's, you know, something that needed to be done. I bought the house to restore it. I didn't know it was going to take me so long, to be honest with you, but I think it looks good now.
And the relief you're seeking would not adversely affect the health, safety, welfare of the community, is that correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
And it's the minimal relief necessary for you to actually get some use out of your house, is that correct?
Yes.
That's all the questions that I have.
Do you have something, Jim? Okay. The board have any questions?
He answered my questions.
Joyce?
So you're not living in the home now,
No.
correct?
No.
Is there any heat, plumbing, electric, is that
Yeah.
working at this point, or is
Yeah,
that all
well-
to be replaced? I was just curious.
No, I currently have building permits with the township to replace all the electric, and I've done major internal renovations where I've replaced entire floors, or the entire first floor has been replaced because the old wood joists rotted
Right.
and then had to be replaced, and they've all been engineered, and I have a building permit with the township. So everything has been reworked.
Is there any possibility of putting the garage behind the home?
Well-
You looked at that, to put it on the...
Well, I think part of my
instead
problem
the leg of
is,
the L? I understand, the other was a barn, and you have some paving up to that point.
I would like to, if I could show the,
You can go back to the exhibit.
I don't care which, no, not,
Four, sorry.
yeah.
Stop
So,
to ask the
Doesn't the
question.
property terrace down there, though, that
Yeah.
couldn't really put a driveway in?
well, the only way I could get back there is I'd have to go over, and there is actually a root cellar here,
Oh, okay,
so
so tell what that was.
I'd have to destroy that.
Okay.
I have a cistern here.
I had to ask, because
no,
that
yeah.
looks like a big...
No, yeah, I understand.
It's my job.
And I know a lot of neighbors have garages in their backyards,
Mhm.
so it's not uncommon, no. I appreciate your question, thank you.
Okay. And then one question on the rendering of the garage. I can't read the tiny print, and it looks like
Yeah,
the side view,
I have
there's
tons.
something sticking up
Let me,
that,
Yeah, number 10.
number 10, actually 8, yeah, number 10 looks for 8. What is that sticking up?
I need this here.
That, yes.
Well, that's
I'm
this.
trying to,
Well, it's like an eyebrow window, so.
Oh, it's a window.
Well, it's not, it's just like a facade. It was just to break the roof line up.
It's an architectural feature to break up the roof so you're not looking at a flat.
so it wasn't a chimney or some, I mean,
No.
the way it sticks up like that, it was just
No,
very...
no, that's, it's just,
Okay.
like a dormer.
Like a dormer.
Like a
Yeah,
dormer.
like a dormer.
Right,
Okay.
but it
And then
has
the
no
other-
windows in it.
The
Yeah.
only other question going back,
Mhm.
where the barn wall is going to continue, twice you've stated you need to add a fence. I don't understand why, or what, is it the
Well-
grading issue there that? No,
Well, I'm not grading anything other
but you're
than.
saying,
that-
is the land a different
Yeah, it's
height?
higher. I think
So what kind of a fence?
Mrs. Esky had mentioned that it slopes down.
Yes.
It does. There was an old bank, this is an old bank barn, so they built up the behind, so they brought their tractors in this way.
Okay,
So I think this is all ivy now, so it's got to be close to 7 feet tall. So
Okay.
it's never had a fence there
so
before?
you want a fence for the ivy to climb on?
Well, no.
I mean, I'm trying to visualize. what-
No, I just think that I need to put a fence in. I think if I
A
don't.
privacy fence, or how close is this to the neighbor? I mean, I
Oh,
still,
well, it would just go along, just so nobody walks over the edge of it.
Oh.
No one's.
a
it's-
security type
Yeah,
fence?
it's a security fence,
Okay,
so
got it.
someone
All right,
walk
I'm just
over
trying
the
to,
wall
I
that's
haven't
there.
seen the
I
property, I was
think,
trying to.
I didn't need to improve it, but since
Fine.
I'm improving, I
Got
think
it.
I've got to follow some sort of code,
Okay,
and I
that's
think it
all I
says,
had.
yeah, I think above 31 inches or something,
This is the area you're talking about,
yeah.
You don't want someone falling
right?
off.
Is that?
Right, yeah, if they wandered onto my property,
Right.
that's
Got
why
it.
I want to put the
Okay.
fence up.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go to number 10,
You
you can see it a little bit better on that.
Yeah.
You have a
Is
question?
this little area down there?
Just one or two.
Well, wait, see,
Yes.
where's the fence?
Down by the lobby.
Oh, here, yeah, here's the fence right here.
It's just, that's what we're talking about, a
Okay.
skirt, so someone doesn't.
Tom, take it, Tom.
And that you can see, here it is too, and that,
Different
Where the
levels.
stone is, okay.
Right, yeah, that's a great double.
right, and the fence is actually sitting on top of the wall. I'm not, I was gonna place it behind it. That,
Thank you.
thank you,
Okay.
thanks.
Kathy,
My
you have
turn?
any questions?
No,
Okay.
Nancy, I'm good.
I think you've actually done a very thorough presentation, and I know we kind of beat this, but I'm just going to make the point
Yeah.
that what you're asking as far as the porch is simply to replace a porch that existed before there was zoning in this township, which was 1955, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
The porch was
18.
there before, you're simply putting back a porch that existed back before zoning even
Yes, yes.
was voted in place in
Yes,
this
yes,
township.
yes.
And then the question about the garage, I don't know, I mean, clear, the code, as far as I can see, is silent as to what is treated as a rear yard or side yard. I mean, clearly, the corner, both of them are treated as front yards. But I think out of an abundance of caution, as they've been saying on the news every day lately, that perhaps we should treat that as a rear yard, and if we decide to go in that direction, treat it as a variance rather than just saying that it's a side yard in 20 foot. Is there any?
I mean, there's a rationale both ways, certainly. I mean, if that is a rear yard, as they've correctly pointed out, it renders that large part of the lot completely useless. And it's not self-inflicted in the sense that it's the lot is the lot. They can't
Right.
change that. So there certainly is a rationale for that. I have seen the corner lot interpretation, not in our code, but I mean, I am aware that it has been viewed as basically looking at it as two front projections, which would then render that a side. So either one, I think, could be a valid in interpretation. The variance probably has a positive effect that once you grant it, it runs with the land from that point forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And I understand, a lot of zoning office boards would take the position of, they'd rather grant the variance than interpretation. Or,
Makes us feel important.
yeah.
I-
To us, it doesn't matter, else we
Perpetuity.
build a garage.
And I understand the predicament we all could be in, that we
Yeah.
find ourselves from not having zoning, now having zoning, and older structures, and I did, and again, I think Mr. Hart, you brought up about Ms. Ramagusa, but I do know she was concerned about this shed, and I am clearly taking that shed down. You know, I'm trying to clean up the whole lower lot. I've spent a lot of time landscaping, so I did a lot of the perimeter. I'm doing the house, and I'm working myself in, because I think the property needs to be finished. And I think I'm going to leave something nice to the township. At least that was my
So from
intent.
the neighbor's point of view, they're probably looking at this as actually cleaning up and improving,
Yeah.
rather than putting a new structure. They're looking at this as something that's a positive.
Well, yeah, and
Getting
I
rid
want
of
to
the
give
sheds
back
and,
more
yeah.
impervious. I want to get rid of all the cement that's down there, and, you know, I'm an environmentalist, so I want to get, you know, I've been putting stuff for clean fill, and, you know, I want to do it right, and I want to do it with approval of the township, too. I don't want to do anything half-baked. I want to do it properly.
And I think you may have mentioned this already, but when would you get started on the garage?
Well, I've been working on the old house. I've been in business for 25 years. I've worked on old estates my entire life. And I find that it's easier for me to do old work than to have people that are unfamiliar with it. I have a builder friend of mine who promised me he could help me out with it, so as
The
soon as I...
garage.
Well, no, the garage and
whole-
the
and the
addition.
addition.
You know, basically I want to get a foundation and framing and, you know, get everything under roof, and then I can do my own finish work.
But to answer your question, you're talking the next couple of months.
Oh, no,
Whatever
yeah,
we get.
whatever it takes.
My only concern is, and I'm just basing this
Oh,
on
yeah.
my handyman skills, is that you
Yeah.
get started, you get halfway through something, and say, well, the house needs work now, and you leave it, and that wouldn't be fair to the neighbors.
No, no, no. I think the progression, logically,
That
would be
once
to-
you started, you're going to at least get it completed on the exterior.
No, I want to build, really, I'd like to build the garage first, get that whole lower lot set up first, and then tackle the house.
Very good, that's all I have.
Okay. Kathy, you have
No-
something?
Nope, I'm good.
Tom?
Don't get rid of the root cellar.
Oh,
Well,
That's history.
No, it
Don't
is.
get rid of that.
No.
Because we had one up at the Castleberry house,
yeah.
and, you know, they wanted to get rid of that over there too. Don't get rid of that. It's history
No.
you'll be getting rid of.
It's amazing how perfect, pristine it is. I mean, it's,
Well, they used to keep their vegetables
yeah,
cold.
it's gorgeous, thank you.
I don't remember that, but that's what I
Yeah, no, through history books.
Now, your picture on page 3, Mike, run that up there, please. You couldn't have taken a better view of that house.
Oh, well, thank you so
Because
much.
I drove by it today, and if you would have taken the bottom end down there, I would have been a little more happy because I would have seen all this stuff you were talking about. It looks like hell.
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Now, are you going to take any of the stone, which has probably been there as long as the house has been there, are you going to take any of that stone and use it for the porch? Or use it for any part of the garage?
Well, no, as, the barn wall, let's see, we would have to go to exhibit of the garage, so that would be eight.
Well, you're going to use it on the garage?
Oh, yeah,
All right,
yeah.
fine, that's all
No,
I
yeah,
need.
I'm gonna use all, and then on my back patio, behind the house, it's gonna be all the brownstone.
Because you got history there, too.
No, yeah, I've used every bit of the stone. I mean, even the basement has been repointed.
Well, I remember our basement in Pittsburgh was dirt.
Yeah, well, this has been, yeah.
Dirt too, right?
They basically dug down to the shale and started building up. And then they put a slurry over the shale as the basement floor. I've had to dig down and fix that. And that was through all the building permits with all sorts of foundations and what have you. But, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Mr. Roberts, nice presentation, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bora. Appreciate it.
Will you keep the windows? They're awesome, the 12
Oh,
over 12.
I've restored all the windows in the house. Everyone has been restored. I just finished the last one and got a nice blister yesterday. The last window, I said, this is my last stone. I cracked it and then I missed. You know, one of those things that happens.
Very nice.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to comment on the information you gave us for the project.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for all that work. And I also like to thank you for putting so much effort in restoring this. So many people buy homes that are older and just take them down and put something brand new up.
Well,
And I think that's a great looking
well,
building.
thank you.
You've done a great job on what you've done so far.
Well, thank you so much. It's
Yeah.
been a pleasure,
And
as
I
I
wouldn't
said.
have complained if I was your neighbor. But it's gorgeous, and I know what it's like to do a house over that's old, because I had the opportunity to do partial, and it was great.
Well, I was pretty headstrong. I decided I was going to finish it, and I was going to do it right, and I think, and, you know, one day when it's all done, I'd love for you to see it all. I'd be
We'll
happy.
take you up on that.
Yeah, and I've actually found a lot of stuff, so I've got some interesting coins and stuff.
Don't take Kathy Esky up there. All right, does anybody have any other questions?
No.
Okay. Joe, how about you? I don't hear you question.
No.
No, you okay?
Good
All right.
presentation, it's
Well,
quite
thank you.
clear.
Just move for admission of my exhibits, and we'll close.
Thank you so much for
Okay.
letting me have a chance.
Let's not make him come back. Madam Chairperson.
Well, wait a minute. Let's see, anybody from the audience have a question? No? Is anybody opposed to this project?
Somebody
Go ahead,
want to go
Tom.
and take a look at it?
Just go down the
Anyone gonna have
road.
a bud?
Yeah.
Madam Chairperson, I put a motion on the floor that Z 1414 be approved.
But we need to just make
If
the
I can
Go ahead.
perhaps add to that, make a motion to approve the application and grant a variance from section 143-37 to permit the construction of restored front porch into the front yard setback and to build a garage within the rear yard setback.
Okay. Tom, you second his motion?
I'll third it too, Nancy.
Sorry,
Okay.
Tom.
Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
unanimous.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
You can have these,
We recycle it, please.
I don't need it, thank you.
This is actually,
No, I'm gonna keep the picture. I'll give you the rest
Keep
of
mine.
mine.
I like that picture.
okay.
You want to give this
Here
one
you-
back?
Thank you all. Thank you.
I'll keep it for when he has the opening party.
Yeah, the open house.
Maybe I better take that back. That may be the invitation. Okay.
Good night.
Take care.
We're down to Z 14-15. Who wants to read it? Kathy, you want to read it?
Z 1415 Trooper Road, Enterprise. 14 Balagomingo Road, Conshohocken, PA 19428, doing business as Taco Bell. This applicant is appealing the interpretation of 143-112 by the township that a reduction in impervious coverage from 77.3% to 77.6% requires zoning relief. The standard is 30%. The applicant also requests a variance from 143-141B to allow for 2 signs per street frontage and signage on all 4 facades. The applicant proposes 2 signs combining the words Taco Bell on one sign and the logo of the bell on the other side, on each side of the building. In addition, the applicant is asking for a variance of 143-141A to permit a pylon sign on each of the street frontages at the height of 28 foot and square footage of 101.1 square foot each. Last, the applicant is requesting a variance from 143-141A to permit 2 pylon signs and 1 mounted sign. The-
Monument,
Monument?
monuments.
Massive monuments.
The monument sign is in support of the township's recommendation to construct a sign welcoming people to the township. The parcel ID of the subject property is 4300151009-004. Subject property is located at 1165 South Trooper Road, Lower Providence Township, and is in the HC Highway Commercial Zoning District.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Joe McLaury. I represent the applicant. I have exhibit most I'd like to distribute.
No wonder you needed your suitcase.
Yeah, you know. And
Oh
I'm
my
getting older and can't lift it all.
I must have flunked a class.
You did all the other stuff, too.
Can I proceed?
Okay.
This application is far simpler than the way it reads in a zoning notice. There's 2 forms of relief: for a sign package, the standard Taco Bell sign package, and for the second kind of relief is for impervious coverage. There's existing impervious coverage at the site. It's existing nonconformity. They're going to totally redevelop the site and actually decrease the amount of impervious coverage. The zoning officer has ruled through advice of counsel that that requires a variance. We disagree with you, and we have 2 cases to submit for your consideration to determine that a variance is not required. In the alternative, we're asking for a variance. If you agree with the township's position, then we're asking for a variance, rather de minimis one, if I might add, because we're actually decreasing the impervious coverage. The second form of relief is signage, and that's where it reads a little more complicated than what it really is. There's an existing sign at the front of the parcel, a pylon sign, that's the same height as what we're proposing for our pylon signs. It's roughly 27, 28 feet high. However, the pylon sign in the front of the parcel is much more in square footage than the pylon signs that we're applying for in this application. So the square footage is actually going to be less by the time we're done with reference to the pylon signs. The township has asked us to install a Welcome to Lower Providence sign, a nice illuminated Welcome to Lower Providence sign. They want it installed in a location that would require us to take down the existing pylon sign. And if we take down the existing pylon sign, we're simply asking that equivalent signage be installed on the two road frontages. So the pylon sign application is asking for a variance on height and for square footage, but it's really reflecting an existing condition. The sign in the front, the monument sign, even though the township wants that, and it has nothing to do with Taco Bell, it doesn't say anything about Taco Bell on it, the township wants that. Because they want that, that's a third sign, and you're only allowed one sign per road frontage, one pylon sign per road frontage. That monument sign would constitute the third. So that's an additional form of relief that we've been asked to pursue so the township can have this sign that we're putting up and we're paying for and we're going to maintain. If you recall, across the street is a similar Welcome to Lower Providence sign, but it's pretty simple and basic. This is going to be much more elaborate, much more appealing to the entrance to the township. The second form of sign relief is also rather simple, but reads in a complicated way. That's for wall signage. Your ordinance permits 100 square feet of wall signage for every front. That would constitute 2 elevations of wall signage, 100 each, for a total of 200 square feet. Our entire sign package for the wall signage is only 140 square feet. It's substantially less than the square footage permitted in the code. The only thing that we're asking to do is to locate it on all 4 elevations instead of limiting it to 2 elevations. So we'll have very small, very simple signage on all 4 elevations rather than larger signage on 2 of the elevations. And then the last form of relief is sort of a technical form. The township is separating out the word Taco Bell from the bell. For us, it's the same sign. We're used to it being treated as the same sign, but the township is calculating that as 2 signs, the bell being one, Taco Bell words being another. So we're asking for relief to be able to put 2 signs on every facade, but that's what the total package is. It's still less in square feet than what would be permitted under the code. So with that, my first witness is Jim Nasuti, the applicant. And if you don't mind, I'd like to sit because I'm recuperating from getting 2 hips replaced. And if I have your permission, I'd like to use that microphone. Thank you.
Works. Make him stand up.
You can stay here, but she'll swear you.
She won't be able to hear him.
Have to be able to hear the camera.
Thank you.
This one?
Should be.
James F. Nasuti, N-A-S-U-T-I. I do.
Jim, do you or companies you're affiliated with own other Taco Bells?
Yes, yes. We have 58 Taco Bells that we operate in the Philadelphia area, Lehigh Valley, southern New Jersey, Delaware, and the Delmarva Peninsula.
And for those Taco Bells, is the relief you're seeking tonight similar to what exists at those Taco Bells? Sure.
Yes, very similar.
I'm going to go through a series of exhibits to establish your standing to come forward with the hearing tonight. Exhibit A1, is that a copy of the zoning application?
Yes, it is.
And the applicant is Cooper Road Enterprise LP.
That is correct.
Exhibit A2, is that the deed?
Yes, it is.
And the deed shows it being owned by Charles Kahn Jr. and Richard P. Kahn, co-partners trading as Kahn Joint Venture.
That is correct.
Is A3 the lease?
Yes, it is.
And that is in the name of Cooper Road Enterprise LP.
As the tenant, yes.
And A4 is an amendment to the lease,
Yes.
also in the name of Cooper Road Enterprise.
Yes.
A6 is the second amendment to the lease, also in the name of Cooper Road Enterprise.
Yes.
And Cooper Road Enterprise is a limited partnership, correct?
That is correct.
And A7, is that a letter from the landlord granting you permission as tenant to move forward with the application tonight?
Yes, it is.
And for Trooper Road Enterprises LP, who is the general partner?
The general partner is Winter Star Corporation, a Pennsylvania corporation, of which I am president and CEO.
And did general partner pass a resolution granting you permission to go forward with the application tonight?
Yes, it did.
And that's also impacted as A7.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yes.
How is the property currently used?
Well, it's an abandoned gas station, and it was a gas station apparently for, I think, about 80 years. And eventually it was abandoned, and it's used as a drop-off point for some sort of charitable organization. To be honest with you, I'm not sure what it is.
You
Green
have to
something.
speak louder, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's it.
Is that better? Oh, there we go.
That's better.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry about that. What I was saying was that it was a very old gas station. Eventually it was abandoned as a gas station. It's currently used as a drop-off point for a charitable organization, the name of which I can't remember. It's Green something. Actually, it's on the, what is it? Green Drop, yes, yes. And apparently that's just, it's just a temporary use until some other use comes along.
Exhibit A9, does that depict the corner elevation for the existing site?
Yes, it does.
A10 is the side elevation?
Yes, it is. That's what it looks like today. And then, yes, and the next one is the side also, right?
Then the next elevation is the front elevation.
Yes.
Is A11 the pylon sign that currently exists at the subject property?
Yes, it is. That's the current pylon. And as you can see, the problem is that because of the reconstruction, there is a traffic light there, and there are an enormous number of wires. I'm not sure what all those wires are, but there are an awful lot of wires there.
And that, of course, would obstruct the view of that sign.
Yes.
The next exhibit, A12, that's also a different angle for the current sign, correct?
Yes, it is.
And that shows how the tremendous amount of utility wires in the area obstruct the view of that sign.
Yes.
Do you consider the building on the site in its current condition to be unsightly?
Oh, yes. It's dilapidated, run down. It's not well kept. And it's an embarrassment, really.
And do you think the proposed Taco Bell development would increase the aesthetics of the property?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt, and I know you're going to be getting to pictures that show what we propose to build.
Do you also believe that the proposed sign package is more aesthetically pleasing than the existing signage?
Yes, definitely, especially since There are all those wires there now that make it really hard to see, and we're also going to add a sign welcoming people to the township.
On Exhibit Exhibit A13, is that a picture of a Sunoco sign located directly across the street from this property?
Yes, it is.
And is your proposed signage more aesthetically pleasing than that sign?
Yes, it is.
And the next photo, A14, is that a picture of the sign that's advertising the property immediately adjacent to your property?
Yes, it is. It's some sort of market. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but
And is that signage less aesthetically pleasing than what you're proposing?
by far.
The next exhibit, A15, is that a sample of the signage on one of your stores?
Yes, not only the signage, but that's actually what the front of the store will look like. This is a restaurant that we built earlier this year in Vineland, New Jersey, on Landis Avenue. And what we're proposing to do here is essentially the same restaurant.
And the dimensions of that signage, that's the same dimensions that we're proposing for wall signage on all four elevations?
Yes,
It's proportionate with the front facade or any elevation on that building, correct?
that is correct.
If denied your signage relief, especially your pylon sign relief, would you then keep the existing signage, the existing pylon sign?
Pylon, yes, we would keep the pylon.
And that would then prohibit you from putting up the monument sign that the township requested,
That is correct.
simply because it would be in the same location the township would
Yes,
want their
exactly.
sign? Is there any way to redevelop this property without obtaining zoning relief, at least for impervious coverage?
I don't believe there is. The impervious requirement, as we understand it, is no more than 30% impervious. And, I mean, there really wouldn't be room for much other than some parking on the property. It would be impossible.
I wanted to introduce the owner so that you can get a flavor for what he's proposing. All the specifications, the extent of the relief, the justification for the relief would be presented by both a civil engineer and then a traffic engineer. Does anyone have any questions for this particular witness?
Yeah, we're going to go, Ms. McGrory, we're going to go through 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
They're my future witnesses.
Thank you.
I have one question on the sign you're talking about, welcoming to Lower Providence. You're talking at the bottom of the big pylon sign? Or in place of it?
No, it
In
would be,
place of-
it would be a separate monument sign on the corner. We have a,
I saw the little one that's in
yeah,
there.
that's what we're talking about.
That's what you're talking about?
Yes.
No, the little one, no, the little one that you saw, this will be larger than that. This will be 42 square feet, much nicer than the sign, the one across the street, if that's the one you're referencing. The sign for the township will go in the exact location as the pylon sign, so the pylon sign would have to be removed.
However, it would not be a pylon sign itself. It would be a monument sign.
Right.
Can I ask you, who asked you to put the monument sign up?
We had a meeting with the township. I don't have the exact date here. And the township manager requested it. Oh, I'm sorry about that. We had a staff meeting with the township, and if you like, I can look up my notes. But the township manager requested that.
Well, you know, all throughout Lower Providence, we have this sign.
Well, you know, we were not aware of that, and we would be
You-
happy to use that exact sign if that's what you would prefer. We're happy to put any sort of sign you like and whatever on it you want.
You mean, you own property here and you've never seen these signs in Lower Providence?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't own property here. This is our first development, and we haven't developed it yet. so I'm sorry I haven't seen that. And the only one I recall seeing is actually the one across the street from us, which is not like that.
Well, there's one, you have a picture of a Sunoco station there, and there's a sign like this in front of the Sunoco station.
Well, as I said, we're very happy to put up any sort of sign the township would like, or no sign at all, if that's what you would prefer.
Where did they suggest that you put it?
On the corner,
So right on that curve
well,
of your property?
Yes.
Sort of. Okay.
Is this sign going to be illuminated?
yes,
It is going to be illuminated?
yes.
Is it going to say anything other than welcome to Lower Providence Township?
Well, wait a minute. It will be illuminated if the township wants it illuminated. It'll be externally illuminated if that's what the township wants. This sign is whatever the township wants. We're going to install it, we're going to pay for it, and we're going to maintain it. But the township's going to pick out what they want.
Well, the reason why I'm asking that, Mr. McGrory, is because, you know, we're going to have the biggest sign that you can have telling everybody about Lower Providence right on 422. And it's going to be illuminated, it's going to be red, white, and blue, and everything else. So I don't know why we'd need an illuminated sign at the corner of Audubon Road and Trooper Road. That's my own thoughts, as a
And-
member of the zoning board. I'm just
And,
wondering.
and that's fine, we respect that. If you don't want that sign, that's fine with us. The township asked for it, we volunteered to do it, we volunteered to pay for it, but there's nothing about Taco Bell on this sign. There's no advertising for us on this sign, so it's of no significance if you don't want the sign.
But you tied that sign in with the pylon sign.
Well, the existing pylon sign, we prefer be removed. If we put up the township sign, then we have to remove it.
I'd like to ask you one more question, if I may. Sir, I'm sorry, you are the owner of the property?
No, the Kahn family actually owns the property. We are leasing the property. We have a lease, which will go into effect if we can get approval for what we propose to develop. Then we'll lease the property, redevelop it, and build the Taco Bell.
So you're leasing the property right now to Green Drop?
No, I'm not. The Kahn family is. The Kahn joint venture is.
Are they coming up at a later time, Mr. Gurley?
No, they're not doing that.
No, Green Drop will move out. The building will be demolished, and then the Taco Bell will be put up in its place.
What I'm trying to get at, Mr. McGrory, is, you know, you put a picture of that pylon sign and up there's now. And there's 3 businesses on that sign. And I was just wondering who's leasing that property and who got the permission to put those signs up on the present pylon. And I want to see if that's tied in with the present owner. Is he getting rent on those particular signs?
I don't know what the arrangement is with the owner, but after the transaction's complete, that sign becomes our sign, and if denied relief, then Taco Bell would put up their information up on that sign.
Thank you for now.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at, I'm just looking at your signage on the existing Vineland property. And you said this is pretty much going to be the storefront that you have.
Yes.
Do you have the, and I'm just noticing on the previous documents that we got, do you have that, I'll call it a swoop on the top? Is that going to be part of?
Yes, is that going to be part of our building? Yes. What is your question?
Yeah, that
Yes.
is, it's part of the sign.
Oh, the white swoop on.
Above the words Taco Bell.
That's part of the sign.
Our calculations have included that in our square footage.
I must have missed that on the other documents that you've given us. You mentioned that you had several dozen other Is it common that you try and put signs on all 4 sides if you have a corner property?
If the building is visible from 4 directions, yes. If a building is not, we don't. Now, in this case, as you know, we're on the corner, and there is visibility from all 4 directions, and yes, we do. So the one that you're looking at there does not have that because it's not, it's perpendicular to the road, and the back is not visible from the road. But yes, we're in a situation like this, that is what we've always requested, and frankly, we've always been granted that.
In this case, you think that would add to the visibility of the
The
Taco Bell.
identification,
In
yes.
addition to the pylons, you still want the two pylons on each road, too.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question about the pylon signs, the picture that you have in here. First you have the sign, then you have a letterboard behind it. Is that going to be on every pylon sign?
Well, there are 2 pylon signs, yes.
And the letterboards will say,
Well, it's changed, it's not an electronic menu board, it's a
Right.
manual letters. And it would say, the message would change, it would say.
but it would all pertain to Taco Bell?
Oh, it would pertain to Taco Bell, yes.
Okay.
Have you, and this is just a question, in your experience, do you find that those letterboards are utilized or they're useful?
Oh, yes,
I'm
we
just
call
wondering,
them-
I so often go by letterboards and they're missing letters and they've got, stuff from 2 weeks ago or, that they're not really kept up to date.
I have to admit that that is a challenge in our business. However, we call them reader boards, and they are very effective if used properly, and we certainly strive to do that.
Okay.
I'd like to bounce back on that. You say it's not going to be illuminated?
He
The
said it's
sign?
not going to be electric.
Not going to be,
What's going to be the punch-up type?
yes.
Or you
yes.
stick in one and punch it up?
That's right, that's correct, yeah.
All right, you
It's not-
mentioned...
Not digital.
All right, you mentioned that you have 58 taco locations.
Yes, we
Do
do.
you have the taco location in Phoenixville?
That's a KFC Taco Bell. Yes,
That's yours?
yes.
It's funny, I happened to go by there today, and you have no Taco Bell signage at all on that building. And you have a pylon sign out front, and it has half Kentucky Fried Chicken and half Taco Bell.
Well, as
And
I
that's
said,
that's a location that hits from Kipperton Road, it hits from Nut Road, it hits from McDonald's. You get 4 different locations on that particular sign also.
well, that's a good example there. First of all, that is what we call a co-branded unit, so it's both a KFC and a Taco Bell. So naturally, the signage would attempt to show both, and I think we do have some Taco Bell signage on there, but because that particular borough is very restrictive, we're unable to have a lot, which is why it's confusing. And frankly, that particular restaurant does not do very well for us, and I think it has to do with in part, because of the restrictive signage.
Thank you.
Is that 113? Is that 113 up there? That's a very congested area. A lot of
Well, that's the
cars.
other problem. It's very congested on that corner.
Which, if you'll think about it, is the same as what we're going to have on our corner.
Well, I believe that our corner, as you know, is currently being redeveloped by PennDOT. And while it will have, I think, actually more traffic than the Phoenixville location, they do seem to be doing a good job with the turning lanes and so forth. And I think the traffic here will work reasonably well.
We might be jumping ahead of your presentation, Joe, but in the plan that you showed with the building and the driving around, have you taken into consideration that they're going to continue to widen Audubon Road and Trooper Road at that corner?
Well, it is my understanding that our plan takes into account the future plans for that road, and that work, I believe, is underway right now. I'm not an engineer. I've asked our engineers that question on more than one occasion, and that is what the answer I've been given. Yes, our plan does take into account the future plans. The condemnation that was necessary for that road work has already taken place, and the property shown in our plan is post-condemnation. It's the property that remains after PennDOT condemned the property it needed to do the work.
On both sides?
On both sides, yes. That's my understanding. And as I said, I'm not an engineer. I've asked our engineers that question many times. That's my understanding. Obviously, if that were wrong, that would be a bad thing.
Yeah, that would be.
That would be very bad. So that's my understanding. I'm counting on it.
And we have the engineer here to testify or answer your
Oh,
questions.
okay. Any other questions?
I'm just curious, since I used to go to that gas station and I missed the mechanic, were those pumps pulled and was that all remediated? Because that was an issue.
That is a good question. And
very good
there were environmental issues there. They have been remediated. We, of course, before we buy or lease a property, we always do a complete environmental report. We did one there, and apparently there's actually one tank remaining. It's not a gasoline tank, though. I think it was a septic tank, and our plan is to remove that during construction. So the property actually has what's called a no further action letter from Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, yes.
Thank you. And I guess the only other question I have, since I'm familiar with that area, unless, I'm not sure how you can cite a building if it's some kind of a rectangle where the fourth side, the back side, is going to be visible to anyone. Because of the Audubon market and because of the development that would be part of the back corner of the lot, three sides, yes, but you could probably save some money because even as high as, and that, we didn't ask how high the building will be, but I'm not sure who is going to be able to see the rear side of that building. Now, maybe driving around, but they're already there. They've already turned in to purchase from Taco Bell. It's just, you know, again, I live in that area. I'm very familiar with what's there now.
It's our impression that people driving on Audubon Road toward Trooper Road would see that side of the building, right? The people.
Well, they're going to see the pylon and they're going to see the whole building. Not necessarily the fourth side of it. They would see the.
Well, we appreciate that, and of
I mean,
course, we
just
don't
think
want
about
to.
it Because you may
yes.
save a little money on the.
Yeah. And thank you, we appreciate that.
It's a great use, though.
I think when you look at the plan, though, and you see where the building's located, that elevation will be visible to the eastbound traffic on Audubon Road.
We'll know it's there. I'm up and down there all the time. But thank you.
How high up on the building is the Taco Bell?
How many
On-
feet up?
Yeah, the one with the bell and the brown roof. How high up from the driveway is that signage?
Our engineer will be testifying shortly, and I hope he has the answer to that question, because I do not.
And the other question I have, I don't know if your engineer's going to, is it lit in any way behind it? There's no lights on that at all, right?
Could I,
Is it lit?
No, it's
The
LED.
whole thing is
LED
lit?
lighting.
It's what?
I'm not talking about that, I'm
The
talking about this.
Yeah, it's illuminated. As I understand it, the wall is illuminated, not the sign.
Not the sign.
White.
The sign is illuminated also?
Sign is illuminated, and then there's a backwash that illuminates the wall behind it, shows
Okay, the sign is illuminated, and there's a backwash that illuminates.
Yeah, let's show it.
Is the bell going to be illuminated too?
Yes.
I noticed you're going to be using all LED lighting, which is awfully bright. It's cost efficient, but I know it's awfully bright.
Let me concern about that.
We are using LED. I was not aware that it was,
Yes,
it's going to bother anybody.
believe me, I can, and this is going to be all four sides, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, Mrs. Foley had a good point, though, about the gas station being there. When I moved down here, it was a gas station also. And, you know, when you come into the township tonight, I don't know if you noticed that there's a new ambulance building being put in there. And underneath that ambulance building, they also was a gas station. And they found a lot of, what was it, Joyce? They found.
I really was not involved in any of that. I'm involved in fundraising, but not
Oh,
what they
okay.
I
found.
think it was a garage, it wasn't a gas
It was a
station.
garage,
It wasn't a gas station, it was a
It
garage.
was oil and
But they've
sludge they
already said
found,
they
and they had to take it and
remediated
get
that.
rid
Yeah,
of it
that
That's
before they
taken
could build
care
on
of
it.
here.
Well, unfortunately, we've developed a number of former gas stations, and we found some unexpected tanks.
Yeah.
And, but we had we not only had a Phase 1 environmental done on this, we had a Phase 2, and they actually did find another tank. As I said, though, it was not a gasoline tank, and part of our plan is to take care of it. And and this site does have a no further action letter, so we believe when we're done, this will be fully cleaned up.
I have another question. This picture, is this facing Trooper Road, this particular elevation?
That
Which
would
one
be
is it, Pat?
facing
Oh, that's,
Oh, that's the one.
it's
Audubon Road.
It's 16.
Right, isn't the front facing Audubon Road?
16.
No, the front.
I'm sorry, let me, could you bear with me a second?
Yeah.
Let me look at my plan.
16.
So what's it facing?
15.
Length is
If you-
15.
Yeah.
We have a big
It's a
plan.
tricky corner. It's a tricky corner. Everybody's gonna look at.
All right, our engineer, who'll be sworn in shortly, is helping me out here. Okay, so, and it's best to let him do this, right? But this is Trooper Road, this is Audubon Road, this is the front of the building, right? So 422 is down here, correct? This is, yeah. And this would be the front of the building,
So we're looking
Yeah.
at here
is this, this view.
is facing Trooper Road.
Yes.
So, do you have pictures of the other three sides of the building?
Well, I did have a picture of the other side, but I don't think you printed it out, did you?
Yeah, there were only so many I put in the packet.
But-
The sign package for all the elevations would be the same as this.
So, but all four sides of the building don't look like this.
Yeah, she's.
Well, there's different dimensions. This is the smallest, the reason why I picked this picture is it's the smallest facade, and it shows the signage on this facade. All other facades would be larger, and the signage would be even smaller looking.
But would they be mostly glass, or would they be,
Well, I wasn't presenting anything with the architecture of the building, that
but that
wasn't the
affects how the
purpose.
signage is?
Well, I was just looking at the proportion of the signage.
Okay, I know.
I think
But
Kathy,
aesthetically, it does affect.
Kathy has a good point there. Now, you know, the front of your building facing Trooper Road, Mr. McGrory, is going to be smaller than the part facing Audubon Road. So are you going to have two bells on Audubon Road, a bell on one corner and a bell on the other?
The signage that you see on this small facade is the same signage you'll see on all the facades,
On all four sides?
regardless of how big they are.
This plan, actually, it's not a color, so it's a schematic rather than a photograph, but it actually shows the, so this is the front, which is what you're looking at. And in answer to your question, this is one side of the building, right? This is the side with the drive-through. This is the back, right? Oh, I'm sorry, right, okay. Yeah, so this is, which side is this facing?
Okay, now I don't feel bad that I can't figure it out. They can
Yeah.
figure it out.
Here, you want this?
Can we have the engineer sworn in and answer your questions?
That probably will help.
It may be a good idea.
Are we done with my client?
We can come back to him.
Okay.
Yes, that'll be helpful.
John, state your name and address for the record.
It's John M. Pettit, P as in Paul, E-T-T-I-T, 497 Center Street, Sewell, New Jersey.
And you're a professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Yes, I am.
Attached to the,
Hold on.
I do.
in the exhibit book, Exhibit 16, is that a correct resume?
Yes, it is.
I offer this witness as an expert in the field of civil engineering.
Do you accept him?
Thank you.
Okay. Accepted.
Can you answer the board's question about what signage is on what elevation?
Yes, what we brought this evening is a, these are conceptual elevations for each of the
that's
sides of the
better.
building. So this is the front elevation, which is a colored picture of what you have, and this shows the signage in the picture. This elevation is the right elevation. This would be where the parking lot is, the main parking field. And again, this shows how the signage on that side of the building, which is the same size, it has the same bell and the same Taco Bell with the swoosh, how that would show up on that side, that elevation. In the middle here, this is the left elevation. This is where the drive-through side is. This would be along Audubon
That's
Road.
Audubon
That's
Road.
what you would see
Yeah,
there.
okay.
Again, it's the same bell and the same Taco Bell wordage. and the same swoosh. And then finally, this is the rear elevation, which is what you would see as you're traveling eastbound towards the intersection along Audubon Road.
Much better.
So you can see how, while it's signage on each four sides of the building, it really blends in, we believe, with the architecture. As Mr. Nasuti indicated, we've developed probably 10 to 15 of these buildings, and we've pretty much gotten these signs approved pretty much every time we tried to get one of these buildings approved.
And this is a prototypical Taco Bell sign package,
Yes,
correct?
it is.
The total square footage, if you add up all the wall signage, is that less than the square footage permitted in the code?
Your ordinance permits 100 square feet for each facade which fronts on a street, so we would be permitted 100 square feet for the front elevation which fronts on Trooper, and 100 square feet for the left elevation which fronts on Audubon, for a total of 200 square feet. On each facade, we total 35 square feet. So if you add them all up, you're about 140. So we're 60 square feet less than the total square footage which your ordinance would permit.
So instead of a 100 square foot wall sign on Trooper Road, it's a 35 square foot wall sign.
Correct.
And the same thing on Audubon, instead of 100 square feet, is 35 square feet.
Correct.
And in turn, you're asking for some of that square footage to be placed on the other two elevations.
That's correct.
I have a question regarding calculation. Have you calculated the square footage of the two sides of the building in front on the roads? Because the ordinance requires that you can't exceed 25% of the frontage. So there's like a dual part of the calculation. I assume you have, I just figured that should be part of the record, so you make sure that when we're voting on.
I believe it was 25% or 100, and the 100 was a limiting factor.
It was 25%, no more than 100.
I could read it two ways. In other words, whatever is the lesser of 100 square feet or 25%. 25% of that frontage is less than 100 square feet. It's a dual limiting factor, but in no event it's more than 100 square feet. So we need to have the square footage of each, particularly the smaller one that faces Trooper Road. I assume it's not going to be a problem, but it should be part of the record, I think, if that's calculatable. We need to supplement the record.
It would have to be smaller than 400 square feet, and I think pretty clearly it probably isn't. Is there any markings as dimensions on that, as to height and?
Well, the building is 20 feet high, so I can confirm that.
Okay.
And it looks like at least 20 feet
It's
wide.
easily, yeah, it's
Right.
easily 20 feet.
So that's the 400.
Okay.
So that should,
Yeah, it just,
should be the 25%, even if you go by that.
sure, that's
Yeah.
fine. I just wanna
So
make
for the
sure.
That was
record,
a good point, yeah.
So the
it's,
stone column is 20 foot high, so that's the height of your building, 20 foot?
Yes.
Looks like at least 20 by 20. Okay.
so you satisfy that square footage under either interpretation, correct?
I think there was a question about the height of the signage itself. Was that one of the questions earlier?
Mhm.
And the signage is,
Well, no, I think there was a question on these signs,
Oh,
too.
I thought there was a question about the height of
To how high up on
the sign on the building.
Right.
It's approximately 15 feet above grade level, each of the signs on the building itself.
May I proceed with the rest of his testimony?
I have one other question. Joyce brought up a good point to you, sir, that about the sign coming down Trooper Road, on the one side as you're coming down Trooper Road. I noticed that the building next to you going up Trooper Road is up for sale, the property. Now, if somebody comes in to tear that property down and their building's a little bit higher than what your building is, you're going to lose all that signage. Just a thought. You follow what I'm talking about?
No.
I understand. You're talking about the motorcycle shop?
Building before.
No,
on the
Joe.
other-
I'm
other
talking
side.
about where my insurance agent is.
On the other side.
Going
On the-
up Trooper Road.
Going up Trooper
Oh.
Road,
Toward Ridge.
going toward the ridge. There's a building right next to you that's up for sale. Now, if they want to do the same thing as what you're doing and saying that the building is non-repairable and so on and so forth, and tear it down, and they want to go up a little bit higher than what you're stating, that's going to block your signage.
Yeah, that building, actually, my understanding is that's under agreement. I did look at that building.
That's going to be Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then you're going to want to put joining
It's not
signs.
actually zoned properly, I believe. But I think it is a non-conforming use, which is to say that I think it's currently closer to the road than would be permitted. And therefore, if it were torn down, it would have to be further back from the road.
But even so, if it's still higher.
It is definitely higher. Well, look, we're aware of that, but.
All right, just a point.
And we
I mean,
appreciate that.
I didn't, I've been here 47 years, so I do drive around. Thank you.
I proceed with the testimony?
Well,
Thank you. Yeah, bring that back and sit there.
No, I thought Joyce showed something.
13 feet.
The Taco Bell use that is being proposed for the site, that's a permitted use in the zoning ordinance, correct?
Yes, it is.
So we're only here to ask for dimensional relief, signage, and for impervious coverage, correct?
That's correct.
None of the variances are use variances.
That's correct.
I'd like to introduce Exhibit A18, which is a reduced copy of the plot plan proposed. Does that correctly depict what we're doing?
Yes, it does.
And we have a larger copy here tonight to reference if we need to look at it in greater.
Yes, what I brought here this evening is a colored presentation plan, which shows that site plan which was submitted as part of the application, along with some of the landscaping, and it's been rendered so that the board can easily see what's being proposed.
Why don't you walk the board through what's being proposed? The site development aspect of it.
There's currently an existing easement on the northwestern side of the site.
You want to use this?
Actually, I have. In this area here, which benefits the property that we were just discussing, that's going to be maintained. The Taco Bell is going to be constructed in this area here. There'll be a new right-in, right-out entrance off of Trooper Road in this location. The drive-through will be in a counterclockwise location. The drive-through lane will start in this location here. The drive-through window will be here. There'll be a parking field in this location of the site. The drive-through traffic will come around and exit in this area here and travel this way. This area here is the proposed trash enclosure. We are looking to enhance the site with an extensive landscaping package, which is part of the beautification that Mr. Nasuti indicated as part of the redevelopment of the property. Currently, there's a fairly significant grade drop off of the adjoining property in this location, so what we're going to be doing is actually filling the property, and there'll be a 3 to 4 foot high retaining wall near Audubon Road, and we'll be filling the property in this area so that the Taco Bell will actually be sitting up, so it'll be fairly visible. So one of the questions about will the sign on the rear elevation be visible, the building will actually be sitting up further in the air, so I think as you're traveling down, you will be able to see that sign on the rear elevation.
And that building's being pushed toward the corner of the parcel, which would also reveal that rear elevation to eastbound traffic on Audubon Road, correct?
That's correct.
The Unimart on Audubon Road, the adjacent property, the building is set back a little further, is it not?
Yes, it is. Yes, that's correct.
There's two forms of zoning relief that the applicant's requesting tonight, and that is signage relief and impervious coverage. Do you mind if I not use this? It's fading in and out. Can you hear me?
Be heard for the rebroadcast by television if you're not on microphone.
Okay. I'll try. There's two basic forms of zoning relief we're requesting tonight. That's one for signage and the other one for coverage, correct?
That's correct.
One variance is section 143-141, which is one sign per front for a total of 2 pylon signs. That's really bad. I'm sorry, that's 2 signs per elevation, which is comprised of the bell, the swoosh, and the words, correct?
That's correct.
And that's been interpreted to be 2 signs,
That's correct.
so we need relief to permit 2 signs per elevation.
That's correct.
And we're also proposing that that same 35 square feet of wall signage be the same for all 4 of the elevations, correct?
That's correct.
Is it true that 200 square feet of signage wall signage is permitted on both the 100 on the Trooper Road and 100 on the Audubon Road frontages?
That's correct.
And that our total wall signage is only 140 square feet?
It's 140 square feet on all 4 signs combined, correct?
When we have the traffic engineer testify, she can testify why all 4 elevations are necessary. I'm just having this witness outline the relief that's being requested. The second form of relief is section 143-141A, and we're proposing a 20-foot high pylon on each frontage, correct? I'm sorry, 28-foot high pylon on each frontage, correct?
That's correct.
And the total square feet for each of the pylon signs is 101.1 square feet.
That's correct.
That's roughly 50 feet per side, a little over 50 feet per side in square footage.
No, it's 101 for each side. It's 101 total square feet on each side.
And the ordinance, it's 101 per side per sign, and the ordinance permits 35 square feet, correct,
That's correct.
for each side. The 2 pylons are actually permitted. It's just the height and the size of the pylons that we're asking for relief on. Is that correct?
That's correct. The ordinance permits a pylon side for each frontage.
The height that we're proposing for the 2 pylon signs, is it approximately the same height as the existing pylon sign?
It is. It's consistent with the sign that's out there today.
And if these pylon signs were denied, would we simply keep the existing pylon sign, which would result in larger signs than what we're proposing?
That is my understanding, that the sign would remain where it is.
And in your opinion, is the existing pylon sign a less aesthetically pleasing sign than what we're proposing?
Yes, it is.
The last form of relief is section 143-141A, and that is to permit the monument sign at the corner of the property, correct?
Yes,
And that monument sign will be in the dimension and design determined by the township, but it'll be in the approximate location of the existing pylon sign, correct?
that's correct.
And if located in that area, would the pylon sign, the existing pylon sign, have to be removed?
That's correct.
And we're asking for relief to relocate that square footage and height to 2 separate pylon signs, one on each frontage.
Correct.
The last form of relief is for impervious coverage. And is it true that the existing impervious coverage is 77.3%?
Yes, it is.
And the proposed impervious coverage is 76.6%.
Yes, it is.
So we're actually reducing the impervious coverage.
Yes, we are.
And the existing impervious coverage on the site is non-conforming?
Yes, it is.
So by redeveloping this property, we're bringing it closer to compliance with the code than what currently exists.
Yes, we are.
The impervious coverage, maximum impervious coverage requirement in the code for this particular district is 30%, correct?
Yes, it is.
And the open space or green area requirement in this particular district is 20%, correct?
Correct.
Is it your experience, as well as mine, in all the municipalities that we've worked in, that impervious coverage is generally somewhere between 65 and 75%?
I've been practicing land development, civil engineering for the past 25 years, and I've never seen a commercial zone with a impervious limitation of 30%. It's virtually, in my opinion, impossible to develop a commercial site like this and meet a 30% impervious coverage limitation. Typically, you're looking at 60 to 70% type impervious coverage limitation.
So if the applicant were forced to comply with that requirement, it would prevent the reasonable development of this property, correct?
In my opinion, it would, yes.
And since the code says 30% for impervious and 20% for green area, isn't the township missing 50%?
I believe they are.
Do you think that the requirement of 30% was potentially even a typo in the zoning ordinance?
It quite possibly could be. There's another ordinance requirement that talks about a maximum building length of 150 feet. If you assume 150-foot building length, a 30-foot wide building, on a site like this, that's an 11% building coverage just in itself. So if you assume 11% building coverage, you put some parking, you virtually could not even develop this site and meet a 30% building coverage.
So the existing impervious coverage, in your opinion, is reasonable, and we're making that better than what exists, correct?
Yes.
In addition to decreasing the impervious coverage, are we also redeveloping the property so that it ties into public sewers and has public water?
Yes, currently the site is not on public water or sewer, and as a result of this development, we will tie it in to public water and public sewer, which I believe is an improvement over existing conditions.
And that's generally what a township would prefer be done, correct?
Correct.
And the stormwater for this site, when it was originally developed, is non-existent, correct?
Currently, the stormwater gets to Trooper and Audubon roads via sheet flow, just flows over land out to the gutter lines. As a result of this development, it's the intention, based on our preliminary designs, which have been completed, to collect the runoff by means of inlets and pipe it to the existing storm sewer system, which exists at the intersection of Trooper and Audubon roads, which, again, I believe is an improvement over existing conditions.
And that could not be accomplished without redevelopment of the site?
That's correct.
And the site cannot possibly be redeveloped and comply with the impervious coverage provisions of the code, correct?
I don't believe a developer would come in here and redevelop this site and meet the 30% impervious coverage limitation.
Did we request of the township an interpretation that a variance is not needed since we were reducing the impervious coverage?
Yes.
And the interpretation that we received from the township was to go to the zoning hearing board, correct?
Yes.
I've included in Board Exhibit 20 and 21 two cases for your solicitor to review. Those two cases would support the position that no variance is required and that it is permitted because we are reducing the non-conforming aspect of the property rather than increasing the non-conforming aspect of it. Rather than introducing testimony on that, I'll just make them exhibits, make them part of the record, and your solicitor can review it at his leisure and opine accordingly. I'll direct you to section 143-168A. Is that the criteria required for us to prove in order to obtain a variance?
Yes,
And that criteria also mirrors the requirements of the municipality's planning code, correct?
yes, it does.
Does this site present such unique physical conditions that it's different from other properties in the zoning district? That being that it's small, a corner property, and the signage is blocked by utility poles and wires.
Yes, I believe it does.
And those unique physical conditions of that property, do they prevent the reasonable redevelopment of the property?
I believe they do, yes.
And it prevents the reasonable use of the property, correct?
Yes.
Did we create that did the applicant create that hardship?
No, he did not.
The proposed use, as well as the proposed signage, is that compatible with the signage in the area as well as the uses in the area?
Yes, I believe the signage and the use is compatible.
The signs being proposed, are they more aesthetically pleasing, less of an impact on the township and the value of adjacent properties than the signs that exist at the Sunoco across the street, as well as the Unimart immediately adjacent next door?
I believe they are. I believe the elevations which we showed the board indicated that the signs are blend in with the architecture and work with the architecture and are pleasing and are an improvement over the signage in the area.
And all of these variances are dimensional in nature, correct?
Yes, they are.
And the five-part criteria that we just went over in the MPC is applicable to use variances, correct?
Yes.
Under the Hertzberg case, there's less of a criteria that needs to be proven for a dimensional variance versus a use variance, correct?
Yes.
I'll direct you to section 143-168D2. Is that the criteria in the code over and above what's required in the MPC that the applicant must prove for the granting of a variance?
Yes.
And the first one is that you comply with the requirements of 910.2 of the MPC, which you've just testified to, correct?
Correct.
That little, and again, the five-part criteria, which is also further enumerated in that section, you've already testified to. So I'll direct you to subparagraph 3. Starting with 3A, is there any substantial increase in traffic congestion in the streets surrounding the subject site as a result of this proposal?
I don't believe so, no.
Is there any increase in the risk of fire, panic, or otherwise endanger to public safety?
No.
Is there any overcrowding of the land or creating of an undue concentration of population?
No.
Is the use suitable for the property in question and consistent with the spirit and purpose of the provisions of the zoning code?
Yes.
Would this intrude upon the adequacy of natural light and air to adjoining properties?
No, it will not.
Would it create extraordinary burdens on public, private, or community water systems or upon groundwaters or wells within the neighborhood?
No.
And in fact, since you're tying into public sewer and public water, you will actually be correcting a problem that could potentially exist down the road.
It will actually be an improvement, correct?
Will this overburden the public sanitary sewer system within the township and occasion environmental problems with the on-site sanitary sewer installations?
For the same reason that we're connecting in the public sewer, I believe it's an improvement over existing conditions.
Will this place undue burdens upon the police, fire, ambulance, or other emergency services?
No.
Will it cause adverse impacts to the appropriate use of adjacent properties?
No.
Will it cause risk or danger to the safety of persons or property by improper location or design of facilities for ingress and egress to and from the property in question?
No.
Will it otherwise adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, or general public welfare of the community?
No.
So in your opinion, all the criteria that I've recited from the code is satisfied by the proposed development?
I believe it is.
I have one witness after this witness, a traffic engineer, who will testify about why, in her opinion, the sign relief is being requested. With that, I offer this witness up for questions.
I have one question you may not be able to answer. It was interesting looking at the pictures you took of all the wires. With all that construction PennDOT's going to do, is there any hope that any of that will be buried?
No.
No?
Transfer station across the street.
I don't relocate them because of the widening, they're gonna relocate these new poles, but I don't believe they're burying anyone.
No, I meant underground.
Yeah, right.
No, they can't, Nancy, we have to go all the way down the road.
Oh, really?
You can't just do it one corner.
I mean, it's amazing. You don't realize it when you're driving, but they really do have a lot of electricity up there. And,
I believe they've already been relocated. I think those are the relocated wires.
yeah, that's all. I just was curious about that.
This question may be, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Good.
This question may be more for the next witness, but I'm curious as to the placement of the two pylon signs, which are really at the two ends. And I would just think that one of the groups of people that you're trying to attract would be the people coming off of 422, and that you want your pylon kind of where the one is right now, where they would see it immediately and have time to turn in, rather than kind of at the edge of the property on Trooper Road.
Well, we did study that. We can ask our traffic engineer. But there are 2 points there. One is that with all those wires, anything on that corner is really going to be hard to see, as you could tell from the photographs. And the other is that the building is actually pretty visible right on that corner. I mean, that's where the building is. And with the signage on the sides, it should be reasonably visible. And then the purpose of the pylons is to be able to tell when you're further away that that's what you're coming to. But look, there are always trade-offs in where you put a sign.
Right.
And we had this study. We have a sign company. We had them study it, and this is what they recommended.
Well, I think that showing where the Taco Bell is going to be so close to the corner does indicate the value of the wall signs very clearly.
That is correct.
I was just wondering if because of those wires, if having smaller signs basically below wire level would be appropriate and cut down on your need for a 28-foot pylon into something slightly smaller. Because I think you're right. Right now they're up so high they're kind of being covered by the wire.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Coming off the expressway and sitting at that traffic light where St. Teresa's is, the one piling up there is a perfect spot for it.
Okay.
I think. And plus you do have the roof from two angles.
We'll have the traffic engineer testify for the need for each travel lane to recognize and safely enter the premises. And there's pros and cons to keeping the existing sign versus having two pylons on each road frontage.
Well, I can understand you're wanting to get rid of the existing sign, you know, even though I think it's in a good location on the corner, it certainly is hard to see there with those wires. But I was wondering if the pylons that you're going to replace that with then need to be quite that height, particularly the one on Audubon Road, which I don't know that as you're coming down Audubon, whether you really need 28 feet. I'm not sure that's a question for the engineer or for...
He said if we don't give it to him, he's gonna keep that sign there. I don't understand. Keep it. You gonna ask?
One of the issues, we could probably lower it a little bit, but one of the issues is the height of the reader board after you lower it.
Okay.
Because right now the reader board's at, what's the bottom of the
12
reader
feet,
board?
Joe. Reader board's at 12 feet. That's a long pole for somebody to be putting up signs. My God, you know.
I wouldn't want that,
You ever see one of
Joe.
those suction things work, Joe? At 12 feet, I can't cut my hedges at 12 feet close.
We can entertain lowering the pylon signs, but not to such a point that that reader board is 4 feet from the ground. That's,
I guess I just wanted to affirm that you've looked into this and you think that is more or less the height that you really need.
well, we were looking at the height of the existing pylon and equated that to the two other pylons. We looked at the height of the Sunoco pylon, looked at the height of Unimart pylon. It seemed to be in range with what was in the area.
Joe, you know when that Sunoco sign went in? When a guy with the same name as you sat next to me up on the board in the 70s. That's when that Sunoco sign went.
Well, obviously, he had good judgment. We like the sign.
And he put his book together too, Joe.
Joe, will they be asking West Norton for signage?
No, we have no property in West Norton.
No, I know you don't, but you could ask to put signs there.
Where?
That would
Across the
const-
street.
Yeah, that would
Across the
constitute,
street, St. Teresa's
Oh, I
coming
forgot.
off.
yeah,
coming
that
off
would
of Ford.
constitute a off-premise sign, which by definition constitutes a billboard. So, even a sign this big
I've
can
heard
still be
there are
a billboard.
billboards along 422.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, and they flash too.
yeah.
I got a question too. Let's go back to the pylon that's tied up with the wires, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong, you said if we don't give you it, you're gonna leave that sign up,
We won't have much of a choice but to do that.
and you're gonna put the Taco Bell sign on that. On which level?
Well, we'd utilize the entire sign.
You'd have the bell on top and taco on everything?
We haven't designed it.
That's for 3 tenants, isn't it?
Yeah, there's 3 tenants
Well,
on
then
there.
those doesn't qualify because they're not 3 tenants.
So you're telling me as a board member that if I say no, right now you want to put 2 pylons up. You want to put
Right.
one up at the top and one at the bottom, right?
Each road frontage.
And what's in this book doesn't qualify for what you want to do, right? You
What's in
wanna
the
go-
zoning code?
You want to go with the height that the code calls for.
No, the
You want to
code
go
calls for-
28 feet.
Yeah, the code calls for 10 feet.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it 28 feet because of 422? You want people on 422 to see the signs?
Now, our traffic engineer will testify that it's necessary to get the sign up higher, so that as people are driving down the road, they can see above SUVs and see above pickup trucks, and be able to recognize that sign and that use on that property sufficient enough to switch lanes, because you have to switch lanes then to turn into the property. So you need sufficient time to recognize that use and then maneuver into another lane, and the higher it is, the more easily it is to recognize that use earlier. That'll be the testimony of the traffic engineer.
All right, the thing about it, Joe, is, you know, we all live in Lower Providence. You don't live in Lower Providence anymore. But you're coming down Trooper Road at 8 o'clock in the morning, you ain't looking at signs. You're looking at the guy in front of you and hoping the guy in the back of you doesn't hit you. Because that's the way the traffic is in the morning. Same way with Audubon Road. Audubon Road's backed up almost to Pauling's Road in the morning. So I don't know what the difference between 10 and 28 feet means. I
Well,
really
mean-
don't.
It would mean something for off-peak, when people are moving with the flow of traffic.
What time's that? 9 o'clock at night? Because it's sure, going up the hill is not going to be, and especially the way they got, the traffic engineer can answer this for me, the way they got it laid out now, they got a left-hand turn and 2 straight lanes now, going up Trooper Road. And now they're coming down Trooper Road, they're going to give us our 422 cutoff that we've always wanted. So you're not going to have people, if that light changes red or green, you're not going to have people saying, hey, I just saw a 28-foot high sign. They could see a 10-foot high sign just as easy.
I think turning on Audubon Road, it's going to be 2 around, not just 1.
All right, I'm off the sign kick, thank you.
Okay.
We can lower the sign on Audubon Road. That's not as important as the sign on Trooper Road. If the board so desires, we can lower it to 24 feet, which would then place our reader board at 7 feet, 7 foot 9 inches.
Do you always have a reader board on all your talk,
We like to, whenever possible, yes.
but you don't always have them?
No, we don't always, we usually
What does a reader board do for you? Does it give you your specials?
Yeah,
essentially it lets us
the
advertise.
bigger the board, the more the specials.
Yeah, but I see it on
Follow
I see it on
along.
TV, Nance, and I see Taco Bell on TV.
Should we get the
Yeah, let's
traffic
let
in?
'em
That
get
was
the
a hint.
traffic.
That was a hint, in case you didn't recognize it.
You want to bring the lady in from traffic?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
Next witness
Joe,
is
go
Kristen
ahead.
Norwood.
Kristen Norwood, KRI.
pick up the microphone?
Have a seat, Kristen.
I do.
By whom are you employed?
I am a professional engineer with Gilmore and Associates.
And you're licensed as a professional engineer in Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Yes, I am.
And you're a traffic engineer?
Yes.
And how long have you been a traffic engineer?
20 years.
I've included in the packet as Exhibit A20 a copy of your resumes that accurately depict your background in the field of traffic engineering.
Yes, it does.
I offer this witness as an expert in the field of traffic engineering.
Accepted.
Kristen, you've been here and you've heard the testimony of the signs being proposed and the testimony of the civil engineer and the applicant, correct?
Yes, I have.
And you've examined the existing signage and determined it's not desirable because of the existing impediments and shielding the view from it, correct?
That's correct. The angle of the existing sign, as well as what we've been discussing here, the overhead utilities. North on Trooper Road, there's some mature trees up ahead that obscures the sign. And just like I said, the angle of it really does not, it's not conducive to people traveling southbound on Trooper or eastbound on Audubon. It's really angled for the people coming off of 422 in that respect.
So in order to attract both lanes of travel direction on Trooper Road and both lanes of travel direction on Audubon Road, it's not angled in an appropriate way to accommodate that, correct?
Correct.
And if the applicant were to install the sign, "Welcome to the Township," that's been requested, that sign would have to be removed, correct?
That's correct.
We've asked for a variance for height for the pylons. Can you indicate for the board why that's necessary?
As discussed earlier, it's more for visibility. There are 2 lanes of traffic along Trooper Road, specifically coming southbound, for people to be able to see the sign, recognize it's a Taco Bell, and safely move into the lane they need to be in order to access the site. We need to have visibility pretty far up the road, because as you said, it's fairly congested. People are moving quickly. So in order to safely get people into the right lane to turn in, we need to have that height so that they can see it further away. Also, we had discussed earlier about the size of the site. The access points are at the limits of the site parcel, and that's for safety reasons as well. We want it as far away from the intersection as possible to avoid impacts with the queues of the vehicles, things like that. So the access driveways are located at the limits of the parcel. So we need to have advance warning that the Taco Bell is there in order for people to slow down, get into their lane, and turn in at the access driveways that are, like I said, at the limits of that parcel.
We've also proposed signage for the wall signage, although very conservative sign package. We've proposed it for all 4 elevations of the building. Why is it necessary to have it on the elevations that are not fronting a street?
Similar reasons for visibility. People coming down the road, they see the Taco Bell pylon sign, and specifically, I guess, eastbound on Audubon Road that you were discussing earlier. Because of the location of the site, it is fairly close to the roadway. They would be, I think, they would be able to see. Bless you. Be able to see the wall signs coming from eastbound on Audubon as well as southbound on Trooper. And then obviously the ones facing the roadways are needed as well for visibility coming off of 422 exit.
And if you did not have that visibility, how does that present an unsafe condition?
Bless you.
Thank you.
I guess specifically for example, eastbound Audubon Road, because of the limitations of the access on Trooper Road, if they pass that driveway and pass the site, they won't be able to enter it without going up the road, turning around, U-turn somehow, and coming back. Similarly, coming southbound on Trooper Road, they have the access. They would be able to turn in to Audubon Road to access the site, but coming northbound off of 422, same thing. If they needed that visibility to be able to locate the site realize where they want to go, get into the left turn lanes to access Audubon Road there, because they would not be able to take access from the Trooper Road driveway. So they need to see it, recognize it, and get into the appropriate lanes safely to access the two driveways.
And if in the event they couldn't recognize the use on that parcel in sufficient time, they'd be switching lanes and creating a traffic hazard, correct?
Yes, I mean, there's a fairly short distance from the 422 off-ramps to that intersection, so as much visibility as possible is in the benefit for safety concerns, just to be able to get people in those lanes. There's several lanes coming up. It's going to be a dual left turn lane, like you said, onto Audubon Road, and I believe 2 through lanes northbound on Trooper Road. So there's quite a few lanes there that there's going to be a lot of jockeying for position. So we need to be able to have people come off, see that site, and recognize they want to go there and get into the appropriate lanes safely.
I offer this witness for questions.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
I think we've probably kind of flogged this horse, quite a bit already. I personally can, as I said, can see the value of the wall signs, and I can see the value, I can see the value of both pylon signs, but certainly one on Trooper Road, clear that you need something large enough to attract the attention. The one on Audubon, I know this is highway commercial zoned, but I know that not too far down Audubon, we get into residential areas, where you're kind of trying to avoid it looking too commercial. Plus, there are other businesses there, including what used to be the Unimart, now it's the Audubon Market, that, you hate to set a precedent and say, well, all your signs can now be 28 feet high, and then you kind of get a thicket of taller signs. On the other hand, I do realize if you have a reader board that you want that high enough that you don't have, shall we say, trick-or-treaters coming along at night and reaching up and pulling your signs off. So it's kind of a conundrum. I hate to say that you should cut it down to where you'll have difficulty maintaining the sign, and yet it does seem 28 feet is probably more than is needed on that stretch of road. And I know it's a minor matter, but I'm just trying to come to grips with, what's the best for Taco Bell and what's the best for the community.
The 8 feet
As far
higher
as
than
the
the
height.
building. Yeah, one's 20 feet.
I don't think
Do
that's,
you need do you need the reader board on that sign?
yeah, I don't think that's a minor issue. I think that's a major issue, because if the building next door is for sale, I mean, we don't want to be honky-tonk on that corner.
Yeah, it does set
You know,
precedents.
there's a church across the street, and there are residents across the street. I think it's a little much.
Look at the car signs on that sign.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to-
Nancy, we're not gonna vote on this tonight, are we?
Huh?
We're not gonna vote on this.
No,
No,
I
we're
don't
gonna-
thi- I
no,
think we're
don't
too
think
much
so
to
either.
discuss.
Yeah.
We have to study
Yes,
the legal cases
Yeah,
per use.
yeah.
right.
For that alone, we should pass.
I mean, the only thing with lowering it is lowering this coming down.
That's gotta go. That's a
I've
jump anyhow.
had an opportunity to confer with my client and taken into consideration your comments, which we do appreciate that input. What he's willing to do is to amend the application to 10 feet on Audubon Road. So there'd be no reader board, it would just be a 10-foot pylon, but a 28-foot pylon on Trooper Road, and wall side, all the rest of the wall signage and impervious coverage relief that we're requesting. If granted all that relief, we'll amend the application to reflect that.
Great, thank you.
That is a package we think would be doable.
Yeah, thank you. I think that would work. And I can taste those tacos, so I'm not trying to throw roadblocks in here, but I think that would be helpful.
So,
And I think the last issue, Joe, that you had on, and I don't really know, I think we're going to have to talk to council on it with the impervious coverage.
right.
But if you're inclined to grant a variance, then that doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's just, I think the question is whether the permitted use as a Taco Bell, which I guess is Class 2, is the same as the use as a thrift store, which is Class 1, and I don't really know if that's, if the two equate.
The use is not non-conforming.
Yeah.
The uses are both permitted. They're not non-conforming.
Right.
It's the impervious coverage of the parcel that's non-conforming. So it's not a non-conforming use situation, it's a non-conforming dimension.
Right.
And that's what the case
That's what I have an
points out.
attorney for. He'll-
Yeah.
I still can't see 28 feet coming down.
Can we break for?
We had people up in front of us, up on the ridge that came in, and they wanted to do the same thing, and we shot them in the foot. I'd like to ask a traffic engineer a question.
Well, he's got,
Yeah, just to answer that question first. You now have 28 feet on Trooper Road. We're just asking that the sign be located from the corner to the entrance. That seems to me to be reasonable. We're not asking for any more height than what's there already.
just because it's there doesn't make it correct.
Well, I understand that, but
And it was prior us.
our willingness to reduce the Audubon Road sign, which in essence renders it almost like a monument, because the top of the Taco Bell on the pylon's only 10 feet itself.
And truth be
So-
told, that's the least needed sign, the Audubon Road sign. The Trooper Road sign, even though Mr. Hart kind of liked your 10-foot, 28 is much too high on Trooper Road. And if you could get rid of your letter portion of your sign, that might make it more palatable.
But then you'd have a no letter board on either side.
Sometimes those things happen.
Well, one of the problems too is that these are prototypical sign packages from Taco Bell. So we need to get Taco Bell's permission. At some point, they just don't grant permission.
I think you could persuade them.
Well, we can attempt, but at some point, they just don't do it. And Jim's had 57 Taco Bells and many other restaurants.
58.
I'm sorry, 58, I lost count. So he's familiar with dealing with Taco Bell and what the requirements are.
I'd like to ask the young lady a question. You familiar with Lower Providence?
A little bit, yes.
You come down Trooper Road from the ridge?
I have, yes.
Have you seen one pylon sign on Trooper Road coming down from Ridge Pike to the big one that's in front of this property?
Well, probably up by the Walmart is B.
That Walmart's in West Norton.
Oh,
So
I'm talking about on our side of the
oh, okay.
I don't think you'll find one pylon coming from Ridge Pike down to the big one that you're talking about with the 3 signs on it.
right next
You're
door,
asking us to
Sunoco.
come down from the ridge to Audubon Road and put up a 24-foot pylon. It doesn't exist on Trooper Road all the way up.
What's up at the, I guess, that West Norton is on the other side of
Yes, ma'am.
Township Line, that makes sense.
Where the
Or-
Walmart, the new Walmart is.
Okay, and then there's a couple of other restaurants up there. It used to be the 99 Chicken Pete's, is it now?
That chicken pizza is 20-foot pylon. That's not 10 foot.
That's on Shannon.
There's nothing,
McDonald's isn't 10 foot.
This is Lower Providence, it's right across the street.
I guess, yeah, the Sunoco, I guess,
No,
right across the
no,
street
no,
would be.
No, no.
She's on the
I
wrong
said, as you come down Ridge Pike and you make a right turn onto Trooper Road, can you tell me whether there's a pylon sign on this side of the street where you want to go to Audubon Road?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And that's not, I'm not aware of any either.
But the minute you cross Audubon Road, there is one.
Joe, I said on our side, I said to Audubon Road.
Okay.
I didn't say the gas station.
First of all, this isn't the Sunoco down.
No, Sunoco's up on the ridge.
Just a minute. You've already,
I need a break.
okay.
It's break time.
We're going to
Sorry.
take a 5-minute break,
Ladies got a big break.
okay?
I'm
No,
not a lady.
I'm sorry.
She
No, I
has-
said the ladies.
Just so you understand, She has a visitor at home.
No, that has nothing to do with it. We need
Oh,
a
that's what I
break.
thought you were doing
No.
now.
We're getting
We
tested.
need to talk
Time
to
for a
our
break.
lawyer about,
Oh, we're gonna do some talking to us.
Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break, so everybody can relax.
Did you have other witnesses, Joe?
I have no
They
other
have to wait,
witnesses, just
Joe.
a brief closing if you
Okay.
wanted to hear it.
Okay.
do you want to give you closing, and then we'll take a break?
If you desire, but it's
All
it's
right.
up to you.
It depends how brief.
Nancy,
I'm-
your man back there wants to know what you wanna do.
Oh, we're gonna take a 10-minute break. Okay? I thought I said that loud enough. Did they say so?
You did.
Now, three,
can be-
Here he is.
1,
The
0.
meeting will reconvene. Thank you for your patience. Okay, Joe, where were you?
I was done with testimony, and I was just going to give a very brief closing and recognize the lateness in the hour will be exceedingly brief. At this time, I'll move for the introduction of all exhibits. And admitted. And just to ask you, I think everyone's sufficiently familiar with our arguments and sufficiently familiar with the law, so I won't belabor that. But I would ask you to consider each one of these variances individually. I wouldn't want your disfavor of one of the variances to affect the outcome of all the rest. So I would just ask you that you consider each one individually. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you ready?
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
I said,
For a young
we're gonna,
We made you wait for all
we're
of that?
gonna wait,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
Because of the complexity, we're going to take this one under advisement and we'll.
Nancy, do you want to ask if there's any people?
I-
Okay.
Yeah, right.
If there's anyone in the audience that has comments or questions? Hearing none? Okay, we'll take this under advisement.
Yep.
Nancy, let me ask one fast question. Did you have the West Norton Taco Bell? Was that under your roof in the
One on Ridge Pike?
Yeah,
Yes. We call that Jefferson.
yeah. What was the reason closing,
Well,
if you don't mind?
there were two reasons. That was around the turn of the century, and at that time.
I beg your pardon.
We remember it well.
Holy moly.
Taco Bell wasn't doing that well in those days, but that particular store was doing very badly, and frankly, in my opinion, the reason was that it's traffic bound. The traffic backs up on Ridge Pike, right, coming up to that light in front of it. I mean, I went there frequently, and you couldn't make a left out, even in the middle of the day, let alone a rush hour. So I think that was the primary reason.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. That's the reason why Wendy's moved on to let the other shopping center also. I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For your time.
Now we have,
You got those two young men in the back.
we have item Z14. Excuse me?
Turn of the millennium.
We have item Z1421, Hop Electric LLC. Who would like to read that? Anyone?
I'll be more than happy to,
Go
Nancy.
ahead, Tom.
Z 1421 HOP, H-O-P Electric LLC, 445 Northwest Street, Doylestown, PA 18901. The applicant requesting variances from section 143-36 and 143-37 to allow for the installation of a backup generator in a side yard with a reduced setback of 13 feet. The parcel ID on the subject property is 43-00-07438-00-7. Subject property is located at 521 Lexington Lane, Norristown, PA. I like to say that's Trooper, not Norristown, but that's all right. And is in the R2 residential zoning district. Gentlemen. Wherever, you can stay.
Wherever.
Mike, you want to give him a microphone on the podium, please?
Joseph Ondal from IES Electric, EONDOLEH. I do.
Okay, sir?
My name,
You have to get close.
my name is Joe.
I don't think,
I don't think it's on.
Hit the bottom, keep the red buttons on.
The others on.
Use the other
We
one,
don't have
maybe.
his name in any of our paperwork.
Excuse me. My name is Joe Pondoff from IES Electric. I'm here on behalf of Hop Energy Group. We're the installers of the generator on this property. Just to give you a background of how this all proceeded, was Hop applied for the permit, and at that time we asked the township folks if there was any requirements as far as setbacks, what was needed from the electrician, what was needed from Hop Energy Group. And at that time, they told us that we needed to have a plot plan, the specs on the generator, the size of the generator, where the generator would be located on the property, and I believe that was everything, which we submitted all the paperwork with our permit, with the plot plan drawn in, with the generator shown on the plot plan. There was no actual plot plan of the property on file here at the township. They gave us a original developer's basically drawing, lot drawing of the development from whenever this development was done. So that's what we worked off of. Sometime between May 1st and the 12th, we got word that the permit was approved, so we moved forward with the install. My understanding was the only thing we were waiting on next was for Pico Energy to install a natural gas line from the street to the property. They had no natural gas there. Generator probably sat there about 6 to 7 weeks. Pico set a meter, but the gas line was still not ran to the property. At some point, one of your local code enforcement people was in the neighborhood, stopped by, and said that the generator was not within the code due to the fact that it was not in the township requirements for the setbacks, which on the electrical permit, under the conditions, it's blank, which I did not have at the time. Hop Energy held the permit. On their zoning permit, okay, it says there is a requirement of 20 feet.
Yes.
On that particular lot, from where the property line is to the side of the house, the measurements that we've taken are about 19'6". So there's no way that we could install this generator within code, being it needed to be 5 feet from all doors and windows. It needs to be some working clearance around the gas meter and the generator itself. We could not put it on the other side of the house because we have the same conditions over there. You only have about 19 feet from that property line to the edge of that house there. I believe in the rear of the yard, they have a patio with an in-ground pool. So there's really no safe place in the rear of the property to install this natural gas generator. At this time, we were told that if we applied, we could apply for a variance and to come before you people to see if a variance would be approved. My question was, my feeling is that we should have been maybe told about a setback. It should be on your, I think, permit application maybe. Some townships do have that. Some townships do have a separate leaflet which states all the requirements.
And I don't know how the permit could be approved with the township knowing the lot size is there and there's a 20-foot setback. So that kind of, to me, it should have maybe set up a red flag to whoever approved the permit saying, you could put it in, but you don't meet the requirements. So I don't know how the permit could have been approved. That's just my opinion and point of view on this.
Is it installed at this point?
Yes, it is.
Did they hook up your gas line?
The gas is not hooked. We stopped all work. PECO did not hook up the gas line. The gas line is installed, but the gas line to the generator is not installed.
Does PECO have to do that?
No, Hop Energy would do that.
You stopped the work because of this confusion?
Yes. They didn't want to hook a gas line up. When this all came about, we thought it was best to stop, go through this process here and see how we could proceed after that.
I think in some cases, the township has recognized that there's an issue, but in other cases, they probably don't have, as you mentioned, the exact plan of where the house is, and they probably leave it up to the applicant to determine that it's within the setbacks. This is something, I think last month, we had 2 others in front of us, so it's not something that's uncommon. It's just something that, we usually try to take care of before the fact, so to speak. I don't know, Mike, maybe you can tell us, is that something that normally they would look at to determine if it's within setbacks or not?
I thought when you did these,
Let him, he's trying to get the mic.
Yeah, generally we
I
would.
realize
I believe that that there was probably a confusion factor. Hindsight is would have dictated that we would have been a little bit more thorough. I should have been more thorough in getting to the various parties from the applicants. I understand there's a contractor and a manufacturer and even the homeowner. But it did mark up on the site plan that it must be 20 feet. We know, as you all know, and as Mr. Hart recently mentioned, with the R2 zoning having changed with the setbacks, basically it's going to be a common occurrence for these things not to be conforming because of the change from 15-foot setbacks to 20-foot setbacks. And so it is again, it's a matter of hindsight in terms of working with the applicants to make sure that they are aware of the concerns that we have.
when these applications are put in, aren't the applicants supposed to submit a plan, a plot of their property, and as best they can, where the buildings and things are located, and they're to indicate the distance between. So I think this is perhaps a twofold difficulty here, that Mr. Nestor, sorry, I'm sorry, maybe should have had a little more guidance that when he drew his plan, he should have known that he was supposed to put in the dimensions from the house to the property line, from his shed to the property line, and so forth, so there was a better representation as to what was happening here. So I think that's some of the housekeeping that we're trying to do. Some things before were done, kinda, and we're trying to bring things more into compliance, so we're being a little bit picky about how things are being done, but I think if they're done more correctly, we will avoid confusion.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So we'll have to get everybody a slide rule so they can do these things and avoid confusion.
I agree with you 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, we do a lot of these, not only for Hop Energy, but also for ourselves. And the first thing we asked, when we go in to get the permits, because each township is different, is what are your requirements? The key question is the setback. That's a key question for us.
And did you have our zoning book available to you
The zoning book,
that would have told you what the setbacks and so forth were?
no, but I did ask the question when I first came in, because I was under the impression before I did the job that we were going to have to apply for the permit, not Hop Energy.
Are you not Hop Energy?
No, I am IS Electric.
Oh,
I am the
okay.
electrical contractor and the installer of the generator.
Oh, okay.
I am a subcontractor for Hop Energy.
Can I ask you a question about the generator?
Yes.
Does it have to be so far from the house?
Yes, it must be
In all cases?
yes, from all doors, windows, any penetration, it must be 5 feet from all doors and windows.
Yeah. Because when you go past the house and you see the air conditioner unit right up against the house practically outside.
Yes.
You just
Yes.
can't do that.
No, number one is, you can put these up to, or as close as 18 inches from the house, if there's no doors, windows, dryer vents, or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they have a national fire rating that they can be placed that close to the house. That was one of my questions also, if that gentleman at that property wanted to have a central air conditioning system installed, would he be in the requirements for that if he wanted to have central air put in? Because most times you need to have the central air unit at least 3 feet from the house, just for servicing the unit and/or the proper efficiency of the unit.
Would he have it on the same side as this?
Excuse me?
Would he have his central air unit on the same side of the house?
He's just saying, what if?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I have another question. On the drawing, there's a fence. Is that fence on the property line?
Mike?
I can't speak to that.
Are you the homeowner?
No, I'm not.
Oh, the homeowner isn't here?
No.
Oh,
They're between the rock and the hard place, these two
yeah,
guys.
so are you Hub Electric?
Yeah, Hop Energy, yes.
Oh,
Who are the
okay.
two contractors?
Who is
No,
Brinker?
they're the contractors. We
That's
don't
what I
have
wanted to know, who is Brinker?
This is Brinker.
Oh, you're
Also
Brinker
Hop.
and, okay.
Yes.
So from this drawing, do you know that the 11-foot 6 inches, is that from the generator to his property line?
That measurement I took was to where the fence is.
But we don't know if the fence is on his property line or not.
No. Actually, it looked to me, at the time we took this measurement, there was the homeowner that adjoins this property did not have a fence up, okay? Since then, there has been a fence installed, and it's butted right up to this gentleman's fence here. So I'm assuming that where those fences meet, that is the property line.
Do we know why Mr. Nestor is not here?
No, I do not know why. Oh, yes, yes.
Well, he signed something that's in here indicating that he was going to be represented tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they don't know the answers.
well, they're doing the best they can.
Well, I understand
Well-
that, but still not the answer, Joyce. So I don't know how we can give you an answer
Well,
if we don't all know the answers.
I guess if we really needed to, we would have to have the property surveyed, and they will have to find the true property line.
Or at least give us their best guesstimate. If it's 11.6 to the fence, then we know something of what it is. At this point, we don't know. You don't know.
Well, I took that measurement. I know it's 11.6 from that fence to where the face of that generator sits.
And it appeared to you that that was where the property line
Yes.
was?
Yes.
Probably was.
Yes, there's a little indentation in the property there.
Okay.
And I was assuming that if a fence was installed due to the fact that he had an in-ground pool, that property was surveyed at some point to,
Okay.
I'm sure he had to get a permit to do the pool and the fence.
And
Well,
you,
if
I'm
that-
sorry.
If that fence is not the property line, I assume the property line must be longer,
Further away, yeah.
and the fence was put in their yard.
Very well could be.
Yeah. In any event, it's not gonna change anything if it is or isn't. That generator's gonna be there, and those 11.5 feet are gonna be there.
Plus 4 to the house, I mean, it's
Yeah. They've already put it there, so
Well-
they can't
19 and
move
not
it.
20.
And I think you've already clearly stated that that is the only logical place for the generator, that you can't put it in the back readily, you can't put it in the front without destroying property value, you can't put it on the other side without running into the same issue. So that, and I'm sure also that it's a shorter run of pipe from the natural gas main line to the generator. It's the shortest distance, having it where it's located.
How
Yes.
far does the gas line go in
Let's
to
do
the
a,
property?
let's do a long run, Nance. It's from Lexington Avenue all the way up to the top
No,
of
I'm
the house.
talking about, is it on this property at all, the gas line?
The natural gas line from Pico,
Yeah,
I believe that is installed underground.
and it's already there?
Yes.
It's hooked up, it's working?
No,
No, no,
It's
no.
not hooked up
the
yet.
generator is not hooked up
Okay.
Till you
to
say it's
natural
hooked up.
gas.
Yeah,
The gas meter is in place. The line is ran underground to the street,
right.
but from the gas meter itself to the generating
Generator.
unit,
It's
there's
not
no
hooked
gas.
up.
We
Okay.
stopped all work at that point.
How
The
large
house-
is the generator? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We should, I guess, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
we
sorry,
need
I'm
to get a
jumping
bell
in.
or something.
Yeah. We should pass something back and forth to let you ask questions. How large a generator is it?
This particular generator is a 15 kW, which is 15,000 watts.
And this is a typical generator in that it will only operate when the homeowner loses his power.
Yes, in emergency situations. It does run once a week for 20 minutes. It does an exercise cycle. It does not transfer the power over to the homeowner. The engine runs to keep the lubricants and the moving parts in the generator going.
And how silent is it when it runs? I know
This
gas generators tend to
particular-
be quiet.
This particular unit,
66.
I believe it's either 66 decibels at 23 or 63 decibels
Is
at
that
23
equal to
feet.
outside air conditioner? I mean, outside,
Excuse me, ma'am?
is that the same, about the same amount of noise as an air conditioner unit?
It may be a little higher. I'm not sure what the decibels are in an air conditioning unit. But one thing I may want to bring up here is where this unit is, the neighbor, this unit is facing the neighbor's garage. There's no windows there. So they're probably another 20 feet removed from the noise of this generator also. That, unless they were in the garage itself, I don't think the noise would become an issue. These units are very well insulated to try to keep them quieter. They're getting better and better each year, actually every 6 months. It's changing dramatically just in the past 3 years. Like I said, we do put a lot of these in. I know this is all new to everyone, probably in the last 3 years, 4 years. So everyone doesn't have all their ducks in a row. Their ordinance is in place. And we seem to, each one of these we do apply for it, there seems to be some type of hitch or some confusion of what the townships really want us to do. And all we're trying to do is do a very safe installation, both for the township so they don't have any problems and/or the homeowner. We don't want to have any issues with fires or anyone getting hurt or poisoned by carbon monoxide.
Do you know that you were on the September agenda, and right before you was another generator? You would have had a walkthrough if you would have been here.
No, I did not know that.
Is there any other question? No?
No,
I would just think after
Oh,
last
wait,
winter, you
Mike
have a
has
lot
a
of business, but.
Yes.
Mike?
Something I will ask you, though, if I may. In order to run these, you either have to have propane or gas.
Correct.
Okay, now, does this household have oil heat, or what type of heat do they have?
Presently, they have oil heat.
Oil heat?
Yes.
So, do you think possibly they're gonna go with gas all the way in the house? Be sensible.
That, I
That's not
can't
your
answer
call.
that question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mike?
Yes, if the board would indulge me, two pieces to that. One is that I concur with the applicant's testimony about us not being up to date with our ordinance. As I've mentioned, I believe at previous meetings, we have a proposal to address generators specifically so that we're not dealing with this on a regular basis. Obviously, the number of these that have come in before you all indicates a concern with the township ordinances. And I guess more directly to that, the 15-foot setback that was the old R2 setback, to speak to Ms. Eske's point, even if we knew precisely where that property line was, it is unlikely that, given the fact that the houses in the R2 had typically been built so that the house wall was up against the 15-foot, whether they need 2 feet of relief or 3 feet of relief, chances are they're still going to need relief, even if we had a exact surveyed plan of exactly how far this particular generator is from this property line. So I just wanted to point that out, that we regardless of what the exact measurements are, with any kind of precision, we would probably still, the applicant would still need relief in determining this installation.
I think that's good.
That was my point.
Yeah. Should we see if anyone in the audience?
Question?
Is anyone in the audience?
left.
That's our
Leah.
audience.
Yeah.
Do you have any
She was
comments,
sleeping
ma'am?
back there 10 minutes ago.
She's happy with it, I can see by her smile.
Nancy,
Okay.
with that said, I'll make a motion to be approved.
We have a motion to approve, do we have a second?
I'll
second
Joyce
it.
has seconded it. Everybody seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Me?
Aye.
Opposed?
Have a good night, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the information.
Sorry
Thank
for the
you for coming in
confusion,
and hook
but
it up
we
so
will-
they can enjoy it.
Happy Halloween.
Interesting. I have a little generator.
That's my Carly as
that
a
my
treat,
son
because
puts
that's her
under the deck